Lego, as a brand we know today, almost didn't survive. In 2003, Lego was in big financial trouble. If they didn't act fast, the brand was going to go under. Sales were down 30%, and they were $800 million in debt. The brand hadn't added anything of value to its portfolio for a decade. Consultants hurried to Lego. They advised diversification. Lego had been around since the 1950s, but now it was as good as obsolete. They were advised to look at other brands, copy their playbook. Lego tried out jewelry for girls. There were Lego clothes, toys catering to an audience the likes of which Mattel garnered. They even opened a Lego theme park. In doing so, it was almost a complete disaster. What worked for one brand did not work for them in the slightest. Lego's toys still sold, particularly tie-ins like their Star Wars and Harry Potter theme scents, but only if there was a movie out that year. Otherwise, they sat on the shelves. None of it was working. The platform was burning. Nothing was sticking with consumers. Something had to give. Lego's savior is, and I'm sorry, I'm the wrong kind of white to be saying this, Jørgen Vig Knudstorp. Knudstorp came in and cut everything he could. Everything that wasn't serving them had to go. Bump the Legoland theme parks. Give that to someone who has actual expertise in the field. Cut the inventory. The number of unique bricks being produced was counterproductive. His philosophy was simple. It was better to let go than to hold on. It was exactly what Lego needed to get a leg to stand on. Still, they needed something that could make a profit, of course. Cut everything you want, there needed to be a reason for consumers to buy again. They needed to do more. Something bigger and better. Something that would have its own staying power and IP they could work with. There was one thing Knudstorp valued. Talk to the fans. Interact. Figure out what they wanted. Lego's portfolio needed its own way of engaging with audiences. He brought on creatives. The idea was to create a new TV show. If they had a team of creatives, experienced or not, who were dedicated to creating something children could engage with, that could save them. Lego's revival has been called the greatest turnaround in corporate history. Major brands use their comeback as their playbook. And to what exactly can we thank for this? Well, quick disclaimer, don't get me wrong. Lego Ninjago did help a lot. Technically speaking, it is a group effort to save Lego, but it's not like that solid of a hook if I frame it that way, so... Ninjago is one of Lego's longest running homegrown franchises, and it is arguably its most successful one. But why Ninja? Well, for starters, it was inspired by a couple of Lego's old sets. In 1998, Lego put out a series called Lego Ninja, built on inspirations from feudalistic Japan. It included different colored ninja clans, fortresses, catapults, horse-drawn weaponry, etc. Funnily enough, this set was built for the foundation of the Lego Castle theme, which has been in and out of fashion since 1978. A lot of the Lego Castle molds were used for Ninjago, such as the helmets for the villains and some early figurines. Additionally, a franchise called Lego Knights replaced Lego Ninja in 2000. Similar to the Lego Castle theme, just with knights as heroes instead. And drawing on medieval themes, you get the idea. This franchise was revised and retooled in 2010 to 2011 with Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. And Ninjago piled all these prior concepts into one, including its feudalistic principles, colored ninja, fantastical settings, and added in dragons, spirits, and those fortress settings, but fused with modern-day sensibilities. Truly, it was an amalgamation of many things that came before it. Ninjago, the show itself, was created by Michael Hegner and Tommy Andreasen, two Danish film producers. The original concepts were tested in front of kids. Of course, that was their audience they needed to appeal to. They gathered young preteen boys, showed them about everything you'd expect to appeal to young boys. Superheroes, the like, but ninja were what grabbed the kids' attention the most. The first bad guys feature skeletons as enemies because tests proved that they were the most popular baddies among 6-year-old boys globally. The additional team behind its inception included writers Dan and Kevin Hageman, brothers, and additionally Tommy Andreasen acted as senior creative manager, essentially the toy designer behind this all. And the show was animated and produced in Copenhagen, Denmark, by Will Films Apps for its first 10 seasons. Ninjago began with 2 pilot episodes in January 2011, which were followed by 2 13-episode seasons that aired from December 2011 to November 2012. And oh boy, if this wasn't the start of something massive. We open. Okay, you're gonna have to let me have that, alright? I know it's corny, I don't care, I hear you, but every single time I have tried to explain the entire plot of Lego Ninjago to someone who is, marginally willing to listen to me talk, I have always used, we open, okay? So I'm gonna do it now, alright? So just sit back and deal with it. We open over the 4 weapons blacksmith shop. Inside, we see that Kai is hammering at this sword. He's, sharpening it, but then he dips it into some water too quickly, causing it to warp. And this is our introduction to the fact that he is a very impatient kind of guy. Nia, his younger sister.
I know. No matter how much fire you have, experience isn't something you learn overnight. That may work for you, Nia, but I'm gonna be a better blacksmith than Dad ever was.
Just then, a mysterious old man comes in, and he comments on his fiery... Hey, look! Huh? Yeah? You guys get it? Are you guys catching that? Are you guys catching that? Yeah. Fiery nature. He asked to see their ninja gear, but Kai shuts him down, essentially. This old man is unfazed, says he thought he'd find something special here, and then he just leaves. Suddenly, darkness befalls the village. The skeletons are here, led by Samukai. They're explicitly searching for some kind of mysterious map of sorts, so they actually attack the shop, which of course causes Kai to engage with them. He's clad in some samurai armor, and Nia steps in as well, which is our introduction to the fact that Nia really wants to be part of the fighting, but Kai really would much rather she just stay out of it. So while that's all going down, there's actually 2 skeletons that are searching the shop, and ultimately, through a little hijinks, they find the map in the star sign. Kai then gets in a fight with Samukai, and let's be honest with ourselves here, he really does not stand a chance at all. So, alright, so the old man from earlier, yeah, not gonna believe this, that was Sensei Wu. What? Anyways, so Wu steps in and he rescues
Lord Garmadon says take the girl!
Nia is quickly snatched up before anyone has a chance to react. Sensei Wu makes a comment calling Kai's samurai armor useless in this moment. It's a callback to earlier, but it's also just incredibly tone deaf on his part. His sister literally just got kidnapped right in front of them and he didn't do a thing about it, but whatever though, right? Kai doesn't care because quite frankly, he's very angry. And honestly, Sensei Wu didn't do anything about getting Nia back, and he's certainly not avid about the fact that they should go after her right this second. But Wu kind of expresses the fact that he actually came here for a completely different motive. He's here to give us an exposition drop. Thank you, Wu. Long before time had a name. I'm not gonna do a full impression of that. I literally don't think I should. Anyways, the first Spinjitzu master created the world, essentially. He's kind of like God here, I guess, in a way. Sure. There's this all-important mechanic of this world. There's this balance, which, is just good and evil. Pretty simple. These two always have to exist, and they need to be equal. So, naturally, the first Spinjitzu master had 2 sons, and guess what? Older one, evil. Younger one, good. The first Spinjitzu master also created 4 weapons. Do you remember the name of the shop? Yeah, that's a reference. So the older one was banished to the underworld. The younger brother hid the weapons with a dragon guarding each of them, and he left a map with an honest man, Kai's dad. Dang, I mean, I wonder who, like, at least, like, one of these brothers is. It's Wu. It's Wu. He doesn't give us a second to wonder. He doesn't give us a second to wonder at all. He just straight up admits it. But Wu isn't here for the map. He actually was here for Kai because, see, Kai is the master of fire. Can you believe the guy with a fiery nature is the master of fire? Anyways, he's destined to harness his fire through Spinjitzu. Kai refuses though. All he really cares about at this point is the fact that he just wants to go and get Nia back. But Wu, of course, stops him. He's like, well, actually, you kind of have to do this, or actually, you'll never get your sister back if you don't. So Kai naturally is like, ugh, fine, whatever. But he's going to be doing this on his own terms. So then they travel to Wu's monastery, where we're introduced to this training course that Kai needs to overcome in order to learn Spinjitzu. Wu says that, the one caveat is the fact that Kai needs to finish the course before he, Wu, finishes his tea. Kai then watches, and very stupidly in my opinion, he sits there and watches as Wu pours himself a cup, drinks the whole thing, and then says that he already failed for today. Kai is mad, but I mean, hey man, that one is kind of on you. Then we're treated to a delightful montage time. Ninjago loves these. We get to see Kai fail a bunch of times, each time feeling in a different spot for a different reason, right? Typical montage, typical training montage, right? So when we get to the final scene of this montage, after we've witnessed Kai slowly develop more and more skills, we're seeing him now go through the course, having learned those skills, but it looks like Wu is actually still going to finish his tea this time. Kai has a little trick up his sleeve. He knocks the tea from Wu's hands before he can finish it, which means he's finally able to finish the course before Wu finishes his tea. Okay, so now, when does he learn Spinjitzu? Well, Wu says he already has. Okay, whatever that means. Anyways, cut to the night, Kai's preparing for bed, and just a side note for this scene, considering the show came out when I was about 12 years old, I feel like this was probably my first introduction to what secondhand embarrassment was, because trying to watch this scene, ooh, it's a little tough. Anyways, so, as he's preparing for bed, it's all kind of like, well, maybe he'll understand what Wu meant tomorrow, whatever. But he's actually not going to have a lot of time to really mull that over because 3 ninja appear. Kai immediately starts fighting them. They're having a whole little battle. It is, I don't want to say corny, a little corny. It's a humorous battle. I mean, whatever. Anyways, so the battle kind of leads them all the way out onto the training course. And, before anything gets like too big, Wu actually steps out and breaks up the fight. The 3 ninja obey him, which means they're his students too? Anyways, so then Wu uses Spinjitzu to reveal each of their, like, ninja gi colors. And, it turns out, just like Kai, each of them is a master of their own element.
Wait a minute, I'm still black.
And, it turns out, just like Kai, each of them is a master of their own element. Kai, of course, as we know, is fire. Cole is earth. Zane is ice. And Jay is lightning. And of course, also in a similar fashion to Kai, each of them have a pretty on the nose personality trait when it comes to their, elemental powers. As we already know, Kai is hot-headed and arrogant. Cole, he is, steady and grounded, kind of like Earth. Jay is quippy, full of energy, makes sense for lightning. And Zane is on the spectrum. I'm kidding, of course, but, in a sense, I've seen a lot of people talk about his character over the years, kind of what it means in terms of representation, how people kind of see themselves in him, how people kind of see, kind of signs in him in terms of, like, it could be autism, right? And honestly, at this point, I think it's always great when people can resonate with a character, but on top of that, it kind of makes sense. It really does kind of make sense. Anyways, in all actuality, Zane is cool and collected, but he's a bit of an oddball, but I mean, hey, they all have their quirks. Cole is scared of dragons, Zane doesn't understand humor at all, and Jay is a simp over Nia before he's even met her. And here's the thing about them, just to recall, they are the relationship that the show is trying to push, right? So it makes sense that, like, it's 2012. It makes sense that right away they're gonna make a little thing about it, right? Where he's like, oh, is she cute? Whatever. It's fine. It's not my favorite. It's never gonna be my favorite. I love the show, but whatever. I just look past it, okay? One thing is for certain now. They're all a team. Or, for the most part, they have to be. This is kind of just like their destiny at this point, right? Wu, then again, reiterates the fact that they actually already all know Spinjitzu, which was just as helpful as the first time he said it. I'm glad he repeated it. Anyways, so we skip forward to the next day. They're going after the first of the 4 weapons, this time being the Earth Scythe. It's kind of a little bit of a team building moment. I mean, they're literally like carrying Wu there. It's almost kind of like, in a sense, I mean, what is more team building than that, really? Anyways, we get to see a little bit of their dynamics, their own kind of like synergy. The trio already seems to know each other really well, but Kai is kind of like a big, fiery wrench and all of that. You know, there's a little bit of clashing there. We also get to see how each of the ninja ended up meeting Wu. It's kind of cute little moments, right? I mean, it's very fitting for each of their elements. Anyways, so moving forward, the only thing that's really important is that Cole is essentially established to be the leader. So naturally, he's the one who is going to be butting heads with Kai the most. So then they show up to this mine gorge place, whatever you would call it, and before they go down there, Wu warns them that, hey, they actually can't use the Scythe of Quakes because actually, if they did, there'd be a disastrous consequence because of it, because it's not stable. Okay, I mean, I like, we can have stakes. I'm fine with that. Like, whatever reasoning we need to have writers, like, I can co-sign that. I'm cool with it. Anyways, so turns out the skeletons are actually already there. This is a really good time to use some discretion, and Kai is already on the move. He's literally already going down there before Cole can even formulate a plan. Kai is already on the move. Okay, cool. So, anyways, they all end up getting to Samakai's watchtower, and they're all kind of mad at Kai because it's like, come on man, like at least like try it all. But again, he just reiterates the fact that he really is just wanting to get Nia back, and then Loki kind of dip. Like that's kind of implied. He just kind of wants to dip. So they find out that Samakai actually is using the map incorrectly and he's digging in the wrong spot. So, you know, they take the map, and so they go to the correct location, and when they get into this little like cave place, Jay ends up yelling, which then echoes all the way out into where the skeletons are, so then everyone is aware of where their location is. So thank you so much for that, Jay. Okay, thank you. They get the scythe and they turn around and oh my god, the skeletons are here? What the heck? Of course, a big fight breaks out. At least I can say this for Jay. He kind of makes up for the fact because he actually is the first one to figure out that fighting the skeletons is just like the training course. So he mimics the training course, and in doing so, he does Spinjitzu. So naturally, all the other ninja are like, okay, let's do this too. And they all are able to learn Spinjitzu in that moment, and that is what gives them the upper hand in this battle. It's also great and dandy, right? Oh, look at them. They know Spinjitzu now. And hold on, wasn't there supposed to be a dragon in this? Oh, there is. Oh, okay. What are we gonna do now? If only someone could make like a really quick, poor decision. Okay, Kai uses the scythe. Okay, cool. Yeah, now the cave is just crumbling. Whatever. I mean, we know Spinjitzu now. Like, we can just go up there. That'll be totally fine. So they get up there, and oddly enough, the ninja are kind of like, oh, this was such a team bonding moment. But of course, Wu has to step in and be like, ooh, actually, that was really bad of you, Kai. You should not have done that. And Kai, you're not gonna believe this. Kai doesn't care. He doesn't. Whatever. I mean, we gotta give him props. I mean, this guy is literally starting all the conflicts, like, on his back. Like, at least, okay, we gotta respect that in, like, the de facto kind of main character. Anyways, so then this first part of the pilot ends with Samakai talking to this mysterious shadow, Garmadon, and Garmadon seems to be planning something because he says that they should not go and try and ambush the ninja. Now, with the second half of this pilot, we're focusing on each of the ninja, each getting their own golden weapon. So we start off this episode on a boat, heading towards Zane's, and ooh, Wu gives us another lore drop moment. where he tells us that, well, actually, when you have all four weapons together, that means that you can do this thing called the tornado creation, but don't worry, the plot is gonna say that this will have very disastrous consequences if you even try and do it, so, like, we're not gonna worry about doing it, right? Like, totally not. So then we're getting another montage. I told you Ninjago loves these. Zane grabs his shurikens, he gets frozen, and then the ninja use him as a sled to get back to the boat. Jay and the other ninja are climbing up this, like, giant chain in a lightning storm to get his nunchucks of lightning, and then they, like, fly down and his little invention thing that's like a callback to his flashback with Wu. But as they're going down, the skeletons kind of let them get away easily. What's all that about? Anyways, so then now we're back at camp and it's a little party time because, I mean, who doesn't love celebrating a little too early? It's a good moment too because we get to establish the fact that, you know, they're all feeling pretty fantastic about the success so far. And it's also like a little bit of a good check-in to see like how all their like little bonds have kind of solidified. So Zane makes a joke, which is a huge character development moment for him. Oh, I'm so proud of you, baby. Sensei Wu does this kind of like silly little dance. He's been very serious this entire time, and so this is kind of his first time being on like, I'm actually kind of chill. So at least we get to have that. As they're sleeping though, Kai is awoken by what seems to be Nia beckoning him to follow her. Naturally, Kai is going up and following her. She leads him to the fire temple, where it turns out, ooh, actually that wasn't Nia. That was Garmadon's little illusion. Nia is actually hanging above this, like, lava, and now Kai is forced to take the sword of fire, or else Nia is essentially doomed. Of course, there's no world in which Kai doesn't take this bait, so, you know, he goes and grabs the sword, he gets Nia down, and then he's forced to face off with Garmadon's, like, shadowy little opponents. And thing is, Kai is not able to hit them at all, right? He can't make contact. But then, Sensei Wu actually swoops in, he saves him from getting absolutely rocked, and he fights Garmadon's shadows with his own shadow. And then we kind of have to split the story here because, back at camp, yeah, the other three ninja are getting jumped by the skeleton. Garmadon then awakens the dragon, and now it's really kind of a sticky situation because in every other instance the ninja were able to bypass this dragon by, you know, a cheap little trick of some sorts, but kind of close quarters here, there's really nothing for them to do. And so Wu hatches a plan because he says that he's going to take the Sword of Fire down to the underworld, which means that, in a sense, all four weapons are kept from each other in this realm. Kai is devastated by this fact, but there's kind of not really anything else to do, and so Wu follows through with this. Then, back at the camp, the ninja are all tied up, and their weapons are actually stolen too, so Garmadon quickly orders Samakai to head to the underworld, and it seems like all is lost for a moment, until Jay pulls out this sword and cuts them all down. So, turns out, in order to travel to the underworld, you kind of just have to travel really, really fast. The ninja try to, you know, go after the skeletons, but they ultimately fail and therefore are still stuck in this realm. Then three ninjas start looking for Kai, and Zane says he senses that something bad has happened. And this is a very important trait of his to remember, because for the most part, in the first season, this is going to be very consistent. A dragon shows up. It's the Dragon of Fire. And it turns out Kai has tamed it. During the battle previously, by the way, with Jay and the skeletons, he had gotten hit in the throat, so he's actually not able to talk, but don't worry, he's not gonna miss this opportunity of Nia, who is just now meeting just now. Zane is a Chad, and he is kind of his little wingman, and he translates his mad game for Nia, so at least we have that going for us. Turns out, actually, because dragons aren't of this world, they can easily cross over to the underworld. And so this means they each get to have their own elemental dragon in order to cross over. This is when we say goodbye to Nia. She's gonna be relegated to the sidelines a lot. It's okay, it's okay. So they make it down the underworld. So they're swinging on these stalagmites. Turns out they're actually spiders. Jay tries to warn them, but is unable to because he can't speak. The ninja fall down, and they lock the skeletons. It's a little contrived, whatever. All the while, Wu is sneaking around with the fire sword, and he runs into Garmadon, and then is forced into a fight with Samakai. In the middle of the fight with the skeletons, Jay's voice comes back, and he shouts that they should do the tornado of creation. So The ninja make a giant Ferris wheel and it holds all the bad guys, and there's also no disastrous consequence of doing this, which, okay, like whatever, I didn't need there to be, but it's just kind of funny that this is kind of what we're working with. It's alright, it's okay, I love the show. The ninja finally make it down to Wu, but when they see that he's fighting, they kind of just let him be, they let him do this. It's kind of giving like watching your master fight and you're like, we can't step in, this is his fight kind of vibe. Eventually, Samakai is holding all four of the golden weapons, and in this moment, that is when he declares his betrayal. But, actually, Garmadon saw this coming because Garmadon is not a fool. And in a kind of weird way, suddenly Samakai is, like, disappearing and then he turns into a vortex. It's, like, implied that that's what the golden weapons can do. I don't really know how that makes sense, but it's just a thing. Whatever, it makes a vortex in which Garmadon is able to escape the underworld through. He states that, like, his whole plan is that he wants to recreate the world in his own image, throw off the balance, and so he escapes through this portal, and this is kind of where you, like, have to stop the conflict of him there for this moment, but because he leaves the portal, that means the ninja are each able to get their weapons back, so, in a way, the balance is okay for now. They then return to Kai's village. Kai and Nia, of course, reunite.
Brother would not want you to do this, brother.
He states that, like, his whole plan is that he wants to recreate the world in his own image, throw off the balance, and so he escapes through this portal, and this is kind of where you, like, have to stop the conflict of him there for this moment, but because he leaves the portal, that means the ninja are each able to get their weapons back, so, in a way, the balance is okay for now. They then return to Kai's village. Kai and Nia, of course, reunite, technically for the second time, but like whatever. They reunite after this little big battle. And she also hugs Jay too, which makes no sense because they like haven't really, I mean, he's never talked to her like directly. It was through Thane. And they all have their like oh so iconic, we'll be ready next time when we see Garmadon. And then they actually like all touch weapons together and then there's like a mini explosion and then they're like, we won't do that again. I don't think this ever really comes up in the same manner again. And with that is our end of our pilot. So before getting into the first season of the actual run of the show, it's kind of, I would say, interesting to point out the fact that the pilot episodes are notoriously hard to find. I mean, you can find them online, but in terms of legitimate streaming services, they're not really available. I mean, I know like Ninjago is primarily available on Netflix and Netflix doesn't have them. Netflix is actually deleting some of their seasons, but I digress. That's not a problem for season 1. But that's all to say that the pilot episodes, in terms of required watch material, they're not necessarily, because I mean they're hard to find, and when you get to the first season of Ninjago, it's not like you have to know everything. It's pretty easy to pick up on what's going on, right, in a sense, but it's just a little weird that that's kind of how it works out. So, for our first episode of the first season of Lego Ninjago, our very first moment, we open with Sensei Wu meditating, and slowly in the background we can hear what sounds like the ninja training. And so Wu gets up, but when he looks at the training chorus, the ninja aren't out there. They are playing a video game instead of training. So naturally, Wu is pretty annoyed. They're just kind of like, we'll train tomorrow, not a big deal. But Wu tells them, do not put off till tomorrow what can be done today. And this is one of a couple very iconic quotes of Lego Ninjago. Anyways, so they're just kind of like, well, I mean, Lord Garmadon's not even here. We haven't seen him in a while. And then Nia steps in and she's like, Lord Garmadon is back. The ninja immediately starts scrambling in order to get to where Garmadon was spotted. When they get down to their dragons, it's all very clumsily. As they're flying off too, it's kind of like, oh, let's race, let's be really immature. When they get to Jamanakai village, when they land, the villagers all are running around, they're freaked out, there's this long shadow that's looming over, there's some maniacal laughter, and it can only be Lloyd Garmadon. Yeah, not Lord Garmadon. You can see where we got the mess up here. Lloyd. Lloyd. And the thing about Lloyd Garmadon is he was raised at the Darkly School for Bad Boys, which is just kind of funny to me because it implies the fact that, like, in this society they raise villains because the boarding school isn't for misbehaving bad boys, it is for boys who are bad and they want to train them to be worse. Okay, I mean, sure. I mean, nothing is done with this, but it's just really funny that, like, we just made that up. We just made that up, whatever. He's Garmadon's son. So, I mean, is he not destined for evil? Lloyd is all like, I want to release the Serpentine, and what he actually really wants the most, though, is just some candy. And yeah, the ninja are not going to take him seriously. They grab him and they kind of like wedgie style hang him on this like store sign, and then they eat candy in front of him while they bully him. After they're done brushing off Lloyd completely, they get back to their dragons, and when they get on there, a scroll falls out of one of the bags, and it's this scroll depicting this green ninja prophecy. See, the green ninja is a ninja who is destined to rise above the others and become, you know, like the best ninja of all time. Like, he is him, and he's also the guy who is going to be defeating the Dark Lord, right? That his whole destiny, right? Some pretty serious stuff. All the ninja are like, clearly that's gonna be me, of course, but Kai, very, very, very notably, is like, I am going to be the Green Ninja, and he is going to keep this up, unfortunately. He's gonna really never forget this. So then we cut to Lloyd, who he actually has found the Hypnobrai tomb. And when he gets inside the tomb, he accidentally runs into the general, you would say. Yeah, the general. And he also accidentally makes it so the leader hypnotizes himself in his own reflection. So therefore, Lloyd now has control over him. And so now Lloyd has an army of Serpentine at his beck and call. This can only be good. Back at the monastery, decide that we're going to have a tournament to discover who the Green Ninja is. When they get to the monastery, by the way, there's Nia in there who is actually training, and then she has a little moment with Jay, but important to note that Nia is currently training. So they have the little tournament, you know, go through the bracket, whittled down. It's Cole versus Kai, and Kai uses his sword and ends up, because he hasn't trained well, it ends up getting fire everywhere. So then Wu has to come out and use Zane's shurikens of ice in order to put out the fire. It's a little notable because, I guess technically speaking, Kai did use the Earth Scythe, but in a weird way, it almost kind of seems like the ninja just, like, shouldn't use each other's weapons. Like, they're not ever going to. It feels like in a weird way, like, the weapons should channel their powers, but they kind of have the powers themselves because obviously Wu's not the master of ice. I don't know. I think about it too hard. Every time I see this scene, it makes me spiral because I'm like, how does that work? It doesn't matter. Jay lets loose the fact that they know about the Green Ninja prophecy. So then Wu immediately is scolding them because he's like, none of you will be at his level. None of you are at his level because the ninja have just not been training well. Back at Jamanakai village, Nia sees that Lloyd is stealing candy with an army of snakes. Scales, who is one of the snake soldiers, I guess, he starts questioning the general on his choices because why are we hypnotizing a whole village and doing it so we can, like, get some candy for some child? Does not make sense. Whatever, but the general is just like, don't question me. Back at the monastery, Wu sees through some spirit smoke this vision of what's going on down in Jamanakai village. Jay is worried about Nia, and so the ninja are like, oh, we gotta go. And this time, when they scramble to leave, they're very serious about it. When they get to Jamanakai village, you know, they start, like, fighting the Serpentine, and turns out also the villagers, because the villagers are being hypnotized. Nia is able to get to them because then she's able to warn them about the fact that when they start, like, when the snakes start, like, shaking their little rattle tails, I guess, you don't really get to see them on the Legos, but that's okay. That means they're about to get hypnotized, so keep that in mind. And additionally, she tells them that the staff holds an anti-venom to the snake's venom. The hypnotism is kind of just like their venom in a sense. The other snakes have similar stuff. Whatever, I'm getting ahead of myself. They all decide, let's do this as a team. And they also all agree that they should have dealt with Lloyd earlier. Cole, as he's about to get the staff, ends up getting hypnotized by Scales, but mid-hypnotism, Nia actually steps in and saves him, so assumedly it's not successful. But now that he has the anti-venom in the staff, he's able to put it into Jamonikai's big ol' fountain thing that they have. And so when it flows out of the fountain, it means that everyone's cured now. The ninja then have their big moral moment of the episode with Sensei Wu. They tell him, we should have dealt with Lloyd the first time, shouldn't have put it off till tomorrow, what should have been done today. And they're all like, we'll train now, actually, for real. Then Scales starts arguing with the general, which it's also noted that Scales is able to see through Cole's eyes, so he still has some kind of leak to his mind. Interesting. In direct contrast to last episode, the ninja are actually training this time. In direct contrast to last episode, the ninja are actually training this time. Though notably this time around, Zane is exhibiting odd behavior. The ninja are getting kind of irritated by him in a way, just a little grated, just a little. And we're then given a montage of why they are not too happy with Zane right now. So there's a moment when Zane walks in when one of them is just going to the bathroom. Okay, a little weird. He then is laughing at a very explicitly sad part of a movie. Also weird. And then when they go to open a fridge, Zane is actually already in there and she's eaten whatever food, but he offers up some cheese. This scene is just, it's obviously so iconic, but Zane sitting inside the fridge is something that is often edited out of the episode in other countries. I mean, I get it. You don't want a child to think that they can sit in a fridge with the door closed. That's kind of a hazard, but it is just a little funny. Instead of him sitting in the fridge, it's just a note that's left in the fridge, which I guess it works in the same way. But ultimately, though, the ninja are like, well, but Zane is still a brother, and sometimes brothers are just different. The mailman then arrives, and he has things for each of them from each of their families, except Zane doesn't have one. Scales is spying on the ninja through Cole's eyes. Scales then goes up to his leader and questions him again. This time around, snakes are building a giant tree house for Lloyd. Also too, Lloyd is very obsessed with booby traps. It turns out that Zane is kind of the one who typically cooks for the ninja. He's really good at it. And when he steps out, it turns out that Zane is kind of the one who typically cooks for the ninja. He's really good at it. And when he steps out to serve them dinner, he's wearing like a pink apron that everyone laughs at, which of course he doesn't get the joke at all. Nia also points out the fact that like even she wouldn't wear that, which is, you know, I'm gonna say it, this is like 2012, but also writers being like, clearly a girl not liking pink is feminist. The way they handle her character is suspect. The ninja have a whole little food fight too with the food that Zane just made, and Zane is just not getting it. Poor guy. As he's taking out the trash, he sees this falcon in the tree, and the falcon is mimicking his movement. And that's enough for him to follow the falcon all the way to Lord's treehouse. Because the next day, the ninja are following Zane to the treehouse. They are skeptical at first because, what do you mean a bird led you here? Of course he's 100% correct about this existing, so now the ninja are looking at this treehouse and trying to figure out how are we going to take this thing down. And as they're looking at it, they realize, oh, if we just cut the ropes that are supporting the treehouse, because I guess 4 ropes are supporting this treehouse, and they climb up there. Cole's hypnotism kind of like steps in. He starts like attacking them, and during all this, Lloyd gets caught in a cage, which is like one of his own booby traps. And of course, the ninja are like, we're not able to stop Cole. This is kind of over. And just then, Wu flies in with this flute. It's kind of like a snake charmer flute. He's playing it. Nia's with him as well, and it not only charms the snakes, but it also snaps Cole out of his hypnotism. But of course, this means that no one is back at the monastery to guard it. And so when they all rush back there, the monastery has been burnt down. They have to release their dragons, and as tensions rise, everyone blames Zane. You know, they kind of let him have it. It's a little sad to watch. But they do let him have it, and Wu immediately is like, okay, you guys need to apologize to him. But when the ninja turn around to apologize, Zane has actually vanished. Cut back to the snake. Scales is finally deciding to engage the general in a slither pit. This is kind of the way that it seems like they trade off leadership. You have to fight and earn it. Scales wins. He grows a longer tail, which I guess is just kind of the signifier of a general. So he's a general now. And his first act as general is he's tossing Lloyd out. The ninja are all sad. They're homeless. They don't have any good food. But most of all, they just miss Zane. But hey, turns out Zane's returned. In very him fashion, he's like, oh, like, I actually just left to go follow the falcon again. Like, I wasn't upset. He should be. But it's okay. I'll be upset for him. This falcon led him to their new home, the Destiny's Bounty. He's also already made dinner for them, so as the ninja are all running up there, being so excited to have Zane's food again, Wu and Zane are walking side by side, and Wu promises him that they will find his home someday. But Zane says that he already did. Oh, it's just so cute. Oh, I can't handle it sometimes. Zane also asks, he'll be the one who's the Green Ninja. And Wu tells him that time is the only way to tell. Inside during dinner, Zane starts a food fight. Seems like he gets the joke now, maybe? Probably not. And it seems like all is well, and they're all just one little big family. Off in the distance, on a hill, Lloyd is watching them, sadly, from afar. He also doesn't have a family. So now that the ninja have this super cool new place to live, they, of course, need to fix it up because this is a
Ninja! Ninja! Come on, we're gonna do it again. We just jump up, kick back, whip around and spin. Episode 3. Snake Bit.
So now that the ninja have this super cool new place to live, they, of course, need to fix it up because this is a random ship marooned in the desert of all places. What's really interesting about this little montage, told y'all, montage, alright? What's interesting about this montage is that the ninja get, paired up in ways that, make their elemental powers make sense, right? I get it, right? Jay has lightning powers, that's close enough to, electricity, he can work on that. But you see them combine their powers, which is something they, never do again. I don't know why they never, the writers never had them do another thing like this, but they just don't. Kai and Zane never team up again to literally make water? I don't know. They just don't do it. So just as they've about fixed up the place, I mean, Jay and Nia are kind of working on the more technological stuff. This is when we're introduced to Jay's parents, and I can't emphasize this enough. Jay is mortified. Oh my gosh. Parents, Ed and Edna, they're quirky. They're so the type of parents that the writers know these little kids are gonna cringe at because it's oh my god, Mom, stop bringing up the weird thing about me. But anyways, they're quirky. They love junk. They live in a junkyard, but they just love their son so much. It's literally adorable, but it oversteps in a few ways. One of the most significant parts, which of course we need to remind everyone that Jay likes Nia, Edna calls Nia cute and just Jay's type, and it's oh, you know what, Jay? I think I kind of understand where you're coming from. They show him around. Jay points out this super cool button that he has in the bounty, but it's we can't press it yet, it just hasn't functioned. Then his parents are oh, you should totally stop by, and Jay's yeah, sure. Lloyd, after being kicked out by the Hypnobrai, he's let's try one of the rest of the 5 tribes. But there's 5 tribes, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that. 5 tribes of snakes. So this time he's alright, let's go try out the Fangpires. What they're known for is that when they bite things, it turns snaky, but this can work on more than just living matter. The leader of the Fangpires needs more reinforcements for his army, so that means that they need to go make more snakes. Ed and Edna have made it back home to their junkyard. Even though it's late, Ed decides that he's gonna go out and work on this giant statue thing that he's making for Jay in honor of him because he's so cute and they just love their son. Turns out the Fangpires have pulled up and they're gonna go after these two. The next day, the ninjas start making fun of Jay. They're bullying him, low-key, as the ninja love to do. The best thing about this scene, and the one thing that just absolutely kills me every single time. So you see, Cole pretends to be on the phone with his mom and dad. This is only relevant because later on, and I know I'm jumping ahead, later on, it's confirmed that he hasn't talked to his dad in a few years. So not only in this moment is he lying about that, being on the phone with his dad, but additionally, it is heavily implied and canonized way later, but heavily implied in this season, that his mom died when he was a little kid. So that means he is completely making up this huge lie to pretend that he's on the phone with his parents just to, for the love of the game, make fun of Jay. And it kills me. It just kills me because that is so out of pocket. So despite the ninja literally making fun of him and being like, ha ha ha, you should go, Nia pulls up and she's like, oh, like, are you gonna go visit them? Jay is like, yeah, no, 100%, like, let's go right now. And it's so, like, contrived in a way, but, like, the dragons are molting, so they can't use them. So they literally all have to, like, walk there to go visit. In that time when they're walking there, like, Wu gives them a lesson of, like, you should respect your elders or you will suffer. When they get to the junkyard, they find Ed and Edna tied up. They've already been bitten. They're slowly turning into snakes, and so they need the anti-venom, and the vampires bite the giant statue of Jay, and so it turns into like something that they can like control, but Jay somehow manages to control it. So then Lloyd and the snakes are like, ooh, we gotta go, so they start running away, and of course the ninja like have to head after them. Wu is like, actually, did you guys know that your golden weapons can turn into vehicles? Yeah, okay, cool. We didn't need to know that earlier when we walked here, that's fine. Of course, Jay has this little plane, he can fly after the snakes, and so he snatches a staff, but for some reason, like, his weapon glitches out, so he falls, but then he lands into his parents' car. He's totally fine, and this is when I, like, bring up the fact that, like, fall damage in Ninjago is so, like, only important when it is important. They use the anti-venom, Ed and Edna are okay now, then they get back to the bounty, and Jay tries to use the button he was working on earlier. It fails, but his dad's like, oh, I know how to fix it, so he fixes it, and the bounty can fly now, which is super sick. But of course, by, like, random happenstance, the staff falls out of the bounty, and then the snakes get it back. Like, of course, sure. But all in all, it's okay, because Jay makes amends with his parents, and they're all happy the way they are. Zane is having a vision in his dream. It's this very big conglomeration of a lot of really cryptic stuff. The Falcon is able to talk and says, like, I know where you're from. As he's walking around the bounty, he can see Wu and Nia, and they're both very cryptic. Garmadon also makes an appearance, but on top of that, the Green Ninja shows up and starts fighting Garmadon, and the Green Ninja, very hard to discern who exactly it is, because remember, we're trying to figure out which of the ninja is going to become him. This Green Ninja exhibits qualities of all of them, and Zane starts questioning him, like, who are you, who are you? But then he wakes up with a lot more questions than answers. Zane recounts this vision to the ninja during their morning warm-ups. Each of the ninja, of course, are very, like, not subtle about the fact that they're kind of not paying attention to Wu, so Wu gets annoyed, and he punches them, and says that they have to keep training until they can solve his riddle, which is, what is the best way to defeat your enemy? In Lloyd's little subplot, in a very contrived scenario, which is fine, whatever, it works, the Fang Pirates and Hypnobrai are about to get into this big battle, but then the leader of the Fang Pirates is like, oh my gosh, is that Scales? We're chill! And so they completely just stop all the fighting, and now they're like, we're all buddy-buddy. Of course, this means Lloyd has to flee, which means he is like 0-2 when it comes to these snakes. Each of the ninja are convinced that they're the Green Ninja. Each time they try to go up to Wu, and they're like, oh, the answer's training. No, it's not that. Then they're like, oh, it's teamwork. No, it's not. And then back in Lloyd's subplot, he goes to release the Constricti tomb, but when he gets in there, there's only one snake. See, this whole time he's had an entire army to deal with, but he has this one snake only, and his name is Pythor. It is heavily implied that Pythor cannibalized his entire tribe. There's a bunch of skeletons around him, and Pythor's stomach growling, and considering what we see later on, yeah, I kind of believe that he ate all of them. Lloyd, of course, because he's like 10, doesn't pick up on this cue. And Pythor is, for some reason, very, very okay with going along with whatever Lloyd says. And so he gets him out of the tomb. They're going to do their whole thing where they're like, let's go steal candy and all that. It's everything that Lloyd loves. This is very manipulative. Lloyd's grand plan is that he wants to go and take revenge on the Darkly Skulls for bad boys because, he got kicked out. Somehow, in a group full of villains, this little boy is the black sheep. The ninja, of course, are alerted that the school's in trouble, and there's a lot of stuff that is just so, like, kind of random, kind of corny. Sure, this is just what we're working with. They get down there, they free all the students, there's skeletons there who I guess are teachers somehow, I don't know. The ninja are all converging on Lloyd, and Pythor takes this moment to betray Lloyd by stealing this map that he has, which shows him where all the snake tombs are, and so he steals that map from Lloyd, betrays him, essentially leaves him there to get captured by the ninja. And oh boy, the ninja are so ready to finally punish Lloyd for getting up to all these crazy shenanigans. Wu says, oh, don't worry, I got this. And he ends up reading Lloyd a bedtime story about never trusting a snake. And the ninja are very confused because they're like, you didn't do anything. He's done all this bad stuff. Like, what are you doing? Like, he is like our enemy. And Wu says, well, the best way to defeat your enemy is to make them your friend. And I love this moment, but I get taken out every time because they're watching Lloyd sleep. Lloyd's first order of business is to sow chaos amongst the ninja. It becomes this big circle of blame. Kai has his high score messed up by Cole. Cole has his suit messed up by Jay. Jay has an invention messed up by Zane. Zane has all his geese turned pink because Kai put his laundry in with his. Lloyd, of course, is revealed having done all this, but before the ninja can punish him for doing all that, Wu says, actually, I put him up to this because I want to show you the power of rumors. Wu also says that he misplaced his lesson book. Turns out Lloyd has it, so in a way, everything that happened was so fitting for Lloyd's character. What just gets me, though, is there's a lesson book for training ninja. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but, like, it just feels very, like, school teacher kind of vibes. Turns out Nia figured out where all the snake dens are. Kai, once again, reiterates the fact that he's kind of mad that she's here. The ninjas split up to go to these two separate dens. I love when they do this because I love getting to see the little dynamics that they have with each other. Oh my god, it's so good. Cole and Zane go after the anaconda. When they get there, the den is already empty, but they find this ancient wall prophecy that states that when all the tribes unite and they have all 4 silver fang blades, that means that they are able to release this thing called the Great Devourer. Kai and Jay are in this giant toxic swamp, and they're going after the Venomari. The cave that they get to, of course, is also empty, and Kai investigates around to try and see if, oh, maybe there's something around here. He gets sprayed in the eyes by one of the Venomari, and the thing that the Venomari can do is that when they spit the venom in your eyes, you see your deepest fear. And for some reason for Kai, that means elves and gingerbread men. All the snakes show up, and the ninja are generally no match for them. They slowly get backed up onto this log that's floating in this toxic swamp, and it's slowly sinking. Their death is imminent. But the entire time, Kai is just still tripping balls from this venom. And he says something about a magic rope, and suddenly, a magic rope appears. And on top of that, this giant mech samurai shows up out of nowhere. And not only that, he takes down all the snakes and saves the ninja, but before the ninja are like, oh, like, who are you? The samurai just knocks them out, so then the bounty has to rescue them. They recount all these events to the team. Kai this entire time is still tripping balls. Wu makes a comment about how the Great Devourer getting released is a can of worms he doesn't want opened. Of course, the sacred flute is gone. Turns out, though, currently, all the snakes are meeting underneath Ninjago City. So the ninja jump down, they get on their vehicles, they get down there, and so when they find the snakes underground, they decide that they're going to use rumors. Yeah, you forgot about the lesson of this episode, didn't you? They use rumors, they shout out things about the other snakes to get them all kind of fighting each other. But then the snakes figure out, oh, this is a ninja, and so they go after them, and they're all caught except for Zane, who of course has been wearing a pink gi this entire time, and he's saved by the fact that he blends into a pink wall. Zane swoops in and saves them. Guess his pink gi wasn't the worst thing ever, even though everyone made fun of it the entire episode. They take Pythor down in order to escape. They all escape on Zane's Z vehicle. And now Scales says that unfortunately, after all this has happened, it's going to be harder to unite now, because I guess the rumors were effective even though they came from the ninja. The ninja reflect on today's lesson. They then make Lloyd open a fridge, which is full of fake snakes, so in a way, they got back at him for all the pranks. Pythor and Scales are trying to dig up the lost city of Ouroboros. This is editing me here, totally messed up this section. You would think Lloyd would have to learn the lesson of not doing pranks. He does not, but you know what? Sure. Pythor and Scales are trying to dig up the lost city of Ouroboros. This is a little snake city. It's also something that is needed to be done in order to release the Great Devourer, because releasing the Great Devourer is Pythor's, one and only goal. The Scales point to the fact that, they don't even know if he's real or not, and Pythor, you're being really desperate, but they find the city anyways, so I guess it must be true. As the bounty is flying, we see that the mailman is flying after them, trying to deliver a package. And I can't stress this enough. The mailman becomes a character that's not only an in-joke about the fandom and with the writers, but he lives in infamy. Like, when this guy shows up later on, it is like Avengers pulling up. This is how serious we need to love the mailman, because he became such a meme after this, because he has to deal with so much because of the ninja. But of course, what the mailman is bringing them is their new suits. And this is one thing that's very undeniable about the show. I mean, this show was made in order to sell Lego sets, right? You know, I can point out all the times in every scene where it's like, okay, we can tell that this was made in order to sell a Lego set. And when they change their suits, that is just another minifigure for you as a viewer to want to collect. But it's a very pointed change. However, it's a very good change because I genuinely love these suits. Like, if I had to rank every suit ever, honestly, this is number 2. And my number 1 comes next season, but these are genuinely like my second favorite suit they've ever had. Then an alarm goes off and, oh, the snakes are attacking the Mega Monster amusement park. When the ninja get down there, however, turns out the Samurai X, already got there and stopped the snakes before them. And it's just one of those moments that, like, the ninja are like, oh my gosh, like, I am so mad. Like, why does he keep, like, beating us to the punch? Like, Nia's down there as well. And, you know, she shows up and all the ninja are talking about how jealous they are of Samurai X. Like, they're just so mad. Wu then tells them, like, oh, like, you know, friendly competition is, like, good enough. It'll drive for improvement, right? So that's at least a good thing. The ninja take this, though, and they decide, actually, whoever catches a samurai must mean they're a green ninja, because the green ninja is the best ninja, and if they catch the guy who is better than them, like, they have to be the best one. We're then treated to a montage of everyone trying to, like, catch the samurai or figure out, like, who it is. The only notable one to remember for later is the fact that Jay dresses up as, like, a damsel in distress and pretends to be tied to a train track, you know, like a very typical Western movie. And of course the samurai saves him, but this is just one of those scenes that's like, oh my gosh, what were you thinking? Kai drops Lloyd off at an arcade. Kai, and of course all the other ninja, are much more consumed by the fact that they really just want to try and catch the samurai, so Kai's just kind of like, oh, like, whatever, just, like, go. Instead of going inside, Lloyd hears all the snakes yapping about, you know, going to, like, Ouroboros, and so Lloyd is like, oh, like, I can be helpful here. So he dresses up as a snake and gets on to their bus and travels with them all the way to the lost city of Ouroboros, where Parther greets them all in this giant, like, gladiator arena. And he's like, okay, we're gonna have this giant trial of generals, and whoever, like, wins means, like, he just gets to rule all you guys. This is a very contrived scenario because Parther actually has the flute, and so when all the generals try to, like, attack him, he uses the flute, and he just takes all of their staffs, therefore showing, hey, I'm the leader now, so he gets to be the main leader of everyone. So now everyone has to unite under his very, very strong urge to just release the Great Devourer. So that is where we're going now. Lloyd's cover is then blown, and now he's captured by the snakes again, because apparently that is all this little boy can do, is just get captured by the snakes. It's later on. The ninja are like, Kai, where's Lloyd at? Turns out Cole didn't pick him up, and they're all kind of like, oh, like, turns out there's a miscommunication here. So they go back to the arcade to try and find him. They can't find him at all. They then see through a security cam footage where Lloyd went. He got on the bus, so they are able to retrace his steps and make it all the way to Ouroboros. They see Lloyd is caught. They see all the tribes are united. Ooh, that's pretty bad. And then, of course, all the ninja are caught. The ninja are then forced into the arena, and their opponent is Samurai X. The ninja are then fighting him very genuinely. They do not like this guy, but the samurai is like, oh, you're doing such a good job of, like, making it believable for them. And the ninja are like, oh, so maybe you're actually, like, kind of onto our side. Okay, cool. The samurai then saves all the ninja again by sending him out flying on his giant mech samurai suit. He then stays behind, fights to get back all the golden weapons for the ninja, but unfortunately he's not able to get Lloyd back, but he flies out as well. So at least they have the weapons, just not their sensei's nephew. Ooh. Kai happens to see Samurai X crash land not too far from him, so Kai hurries over, and he sees as the samurai's getting up and he takes off his helmet, the samurai is Nia. It was a big plot twist as a kid. You can kind of really see it coming by the fact that she is training. She really must be part of the fighting. Yada yada yada. It is kind of one of those twists that's like almost like, oh, I can see it coming, but it hits. I can't act like it doesn't hit. Kai and Nia have a heart to heart. He is obviously like very shocked because he's like, oh, I didn't want you to be part of fighting, but like, oh my god, you're incredible. And Kai promises that he's not going to say anything to everyone else because Nia just kind of wants to be more secretive about it. I mean, that's the whole point. She'd have her face to the whole thing anyways. So Kai then will have to keep the secret and have to lie about the fact that, oh, he must be the Green Ninja now because he figured out who the samurai was. That must be very tough for him. Back at the bounty, Kai lies, of course, about seeing the samurai. He's like, oh, like, he just, like, wordlessly gave me the weapons bag. It's kind of weird. And of course, they're all worried about Lloyd, but Blue is like, it's okay, I will figure it out. And, last moment of the episode, Wu returns a piece of samurai gear to Nia, saying that she'll need this. So it clearly shows that Wu, in all his wisdom, of course, knows her secret too. Listen, shipping is about as old as time. Long before time had a name, people liked to see fictional people get together. Ancient societies were doing it, come on, don't lie. If there's one thing that's true across the internet, all fandoms have ships. And you better believe it. People are going to exhaust every dynamic. There's the obvious ones, the canon ones being explicitly written into the show. And then there's whatever someone wants to see paired up, regardless of if the characters have even breathed in the same vicinity. And no, them calling each other brothers doesn't change a thing. It certainly hasn't stopped anyone before. You can hate this or whatever, it's just par for the course. With Lego Ninjago, of course there's ships. I'd say that the later seasons are more ripe with them. Granted, I was pretty young when the first 2 seasons were released, and I was way more engrossed in the plot rather than who was kissing who. Of course, that's just a me thing, because in other sections of the internet, in the year of 2012, every combination was being explored. Here's something to note though, we are only talking about characters in this season. And no, I am not mentioning any incest or huge age gaps, people. I don't care if that makes a shipping wheel complete, I don't have to mention it. Additionally, more ships are to come. Don't worry, these are just the ones that are technically relevant to season 1. Additionally, I want to just point out, because I don't have any personal experience shipping these back in the day, I'm going to do my best to articulate what the appeal is here. Or maybe question, why did a ship like this come up in the fandom at the time at all? So, no more preamble, let's get into this. Let's go ahead and start this off with ships that are outside of the ninja team. And what better place to start than with JX Nia, aka Jaya, aka this is the ship of Lego Ninjago. And by the ship, I do mean that the writers are writing them with the intention that they should explicitly become canon at some point. From the exact possible moment that the writers could do so, they brought up this relationship back in the pilot. So, what kind of information did they give us? Well, Nia likes blue, and Jay is blue. Right. Okay, so let me just get some extra interpretation here. Both Nia and Jay are what you could call nerdy, the technological side of things. Both being inventors, they could certainly bond over that, or maybe even work on things together. That's cute. It's a little remiss of me to discuss this before the Samurai X reveal, but, well, what can you do? To Jay's credit, when that does happen, he embodies the role of admiring his strong and powerful GF. He's like that dorky boy that ends up with the badass girl, if you want to get all tropey about it. In all fairness, yes, they have cute moments together. While I like said moments, all I can think about when I see them is how there's never a moment where either of them is like, why do I like them? Because, you know, this is just meant to happen, so we don't really get a build-up there necessarily. Not my favorite way to write a relationship, but you know, at least there's some positives to the dynamic. The next one we have is kind of crazy. But you know, what's a better way to introduce the shipping spectrum than to discuss a crack ship? We have Wu x Pythor. What is there to say about them? Well, Old Man Yaoi has and always will have a chokehold on society. And I mean, if you're a fan of toxic couples, well, here's another one for you. In terms of screen time, not a lot. And in terms of interacting, well, there's not much to discuss rather than the fact that, yeah, he kind of wants to release the Great Devourer. So I don't know at what point we would talk about, taking things a step further, but, I guess that's what fanfiction is for. Okay. Let's reel it back in just a little more. The next one we have is Pythor X Scales. Again, not too much to say about them, but yes, they actually do have quite a few on-screen moments together. They're reasonably aligned in their pursuits to take over Ninjago. They seem to fight a lot, but also agree in a way. So, I mean, let's just say it. There's a level of spice that comes with a villain couple that I think the two of these can kind of satisfy that need. Technically speaking, the last one in this category is kind of a crack ship, but in the other extreme, where we have they interacted one time. This is Nia X Background Cheerleader, aka Samurai Cheerleader. Now, this one I do remember back in the day. This comes from a scene where Nia hands this random background character ice cream. She's this blonde ponytail girl that's wearing what looks like a cheerleading uniform, and she actually does come back in some scenes. I imagine she's just like a generic model that they copy and paste into crowds. But this scene is important because it sparked theories. Because you're looking at this and you're wondering, why did Nia do that? What context is needed to explain that? Visually, it's such a random thing to just happen. So, naturally, people are like, well, what if this girl saw Nia as Samurai X and Nia is giving her ice cream as a bribe to not blow her cover? In a way that makes sense. It's a passable explanation for why there's just this visual thing that happens that's not addressed. But of course, this then snowballed into the idea that they'd have an off-screen relationship. Cue all the fanfiction and headcanons. The interest in this ship kind of makes sense. I mean, it's almost kind of playing into that jock cheerleader vibe, and so it's just like a natural extension of that people can just like interact with the show and make up some kind of like background secret thing that happened that we didn't see. Now we have the most important category of all, the ships between the ninja. Disclaimer, because I know people have a lot of opinions on these. I'm very much shorthanding here as to why people ship these. I'm sure most of y'all have way better ways to point out why one of these is your favorite pairing. There's a good chance that when making videos for the rest of the season, yes, I hope to make it that far, there will be more things for me to say, but again, we're just pretending like it's 2012, and we're pretending that we're shipping these purely on the context that we have in Season 1. One of the really fun parts about these ninja ships, though, is that the ship name is always kind of related to their elemental power, kind of like envisioning what those two look together in tandem, which honestly I love that. I love a naming convention like that. So to kick things off, let's just go through down the line of each of the ninja and the pairings they possibly could have, starting with Kai. First ship we're going to talk about is Kai x Cole, aka lava shipping. In the show, we see that these two often butt heads, mostly in the pilot. I would say that Cole is treated as the leader type in the group, which therefore Kai is like the lancer. This isn't necessarily consistent, but in my opinion, I would expect Cole to take charge more so than him not to, so he's the closest thing we get to a leader in the group. Cole is very explicitly the grounded type. He can still have fun, but he's not crazy silly. Think of Jay. Kai, on the other hand, is hardly chill. He can be serious, but he also can be impulsive and a little silly at times too, so they're a little bit of a dissonance here. As a couple, they're kind of opposites in a way, but not really. I would say Cole's a planner, while Kai is like, let's just figure it out as we go. And so maybe they could actually balance each other out with different perspectives on things, perhaps. Maybe Cole could get him to think things through. Probably not. But what I will say, both of them have a very strong presence, which I think is very important when I think of lava shipping, because in this way, I always imagine that Kai gives off the very flirty type of role, and Cole, by all means, seems like he would not be shy about it. While you might imagine that a ship like Jay and Nia seems to be kind of a cutesy, pure, soft kind. I would say these guys are quite the opposite of that. It seems intense, and I will leave it at that. Next up, we have Kai XJ, aka Plasma Shipping. In the show, they are very much the type that are like gonna yell at each other, bully each other. Emphasis on bully, I'm so serious about that. But they also can be very stupid together. I love that for them, but Your Honor, I'm not sure where the brain cell went. Genuinely, when I see them, I imagine them as the, team gets nothing done. And you know what? Someone has to do it. As a couple, though, remember, Kai seems very flirty, but I feel like Jay, and he often gets typecast in this way. Jay seems he's very shy about it, so I mean, people kind of love that, don't they? And in a way, this is almost kind of like the gay version of Jaya, but with Nia being replaced by her brother, and her brother being very intense. And they're essentially just like the hot-headed, kind of jockey kind of guy, ex-jokester, nerdy boy. And so, a dynamic works well enough in that way for people to have some level of interest in it, so I can understand that. Next up, we have Kai x Zane. This is opposite shipping. Very obviously, they are the hot and cold dynamic. Objectively, they are very opposite. Kai is very outwardly brash, impulsive, arrogant, yada yada yada, you guys know him. But Zane, on the other hand, is calm and thinks things through very internally. So as a couple, well, very obviously, Kai is quite grounding to him. Hopefully can get him to calm down. I also doubt that being possible, but Kai also can technically get him out of his shell. Kai is also very much the protective type, so when you run into situations in which Zane doesn't understand something, so on and so forth, I imagine Kai definitely would step in and kind of tell someone off on Zane's behalf. This dynamic seems to really feed into the fluffier side of things. I imagine it's a lot of comforting, a lot of calming each other down, keeping each other centered. So now let's shift gears to Cole. The first ship we have is Cole XJ, aka Bruiser Shipping. Black and blue, right? Also put a pin in this one, and remember that pin for season 3. Okay, naturally, these two clash because Jay is very overreactive and Cole seems to be more ready to adapt and think things through. Jay's the kind of person to panic right away. Cole's the kind of person to be like, alright, let's settle in and figure this out. So naturally, they are not necessarily on the same page. As a couple, though, well, in season 1, Cole is very much kind of like the stoic character, while Jay is very much a yapper. It's an interesting power dynamic here, and guys, I'm applying nothing, because most people imagine Jay to be kind of scrawny and not super strong, while Cole is all strength. So it's almost kind of just like the protective big buff guy, aka the small brainiac, which I don't think I need to say more on that. So I'm gonna leave that there. And next we have Cole x Zane, aka Glacier Shipping. You pair the calmness of Zane with the level-headedness of Cole. In the show, these two are actually paired up quite a bit, and this to me is team gets everything done. Like if I was in trouble and I saw Cole and Zane coming to rescue me, I would feel so safe. Also, you remember when I said I didn't ship any of these? Well, that's like a light lie because, if I had to throw my hat in the ring anywhere, it would be for this one, I can't lie. As a couple, well, you get the leader with the support of the brains by his side. That's pretty great. You get the calm-headed leader, the calm and smart one, but additionally, because Cole is so strong and also very protective, and sometimes Zane kind of needs it, he can step in the kind of same manner that Kai would. He can step in and protect him. And they're also just a good match in the way in which they actually seem like they can very easily be on the same page and working through together. So, I mean, what's greater than that? Now, the last ship that we have is JX Zane, aka, it's actually kind of bad that I am putting the shipping intermission here, but you know what? You're gonna figure out the meaning behind this in the next episode, so who cares? This is techno shipping. I imagine the basis of this one being that in the pilot, Jay explains a joke to Zane. So you kind of imagine that a lot of the times Jay is the one who is offering to step in and explain something to Zane, which, is great. As a couple, this is pretty much the dynamic of like a dramatic ex reassuring. Zane brings the energy of being the calm, level-headed person you definitely could talk to very easily in every relationship, and Jay kind of needs that the most, it seems. And also, it's kind of fun because, hey, you know what? They're quite opposites in that way. And instead of, the very drastic opposite of Zayn and Kai, this one is a little bit calmer than that. So, okay. I mean, I think it's probably good enough. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure how popular this one is, so the best I can really do is kind of offer up that as an explanation. So I'm sorry if anyone's mad that I left something out. I'm doing my best here. And then, of course, we can resolve some of these by making them into polyamorous ships. I don't really feel the need to have to explain what these dynamics look like. Just, do your own homework, see everything I talked about, and just, imagine in your head what they'd be like as a throuple and such. We have Zane, Kai, and Jay, this one being called conductor shipping. Zane, J, this one being Hailstorm. Cole, Jay, and Kai being Knucklehead, which I love that, by the way. And then, of course, Kai, Zane being mountain shipping. And then, of course, you know what? Let's just resolve all issues and just have all four of them be together, and we can tie a nice, pretty bow on all these ships. Episode 7 of LEGO Ninjago is the one episode I actually used to know word for word. And if it wasn't obvious until now, I've been very subtle. But Zane is my husband. He is my beloved. We got married back in, 2014? It has been like a beautiful 11 years, and I'm just so happy to have him in my life. He's perfect and amazing to me. But anyways, this is a really important episode to me, so I will temper myself, but just know I'm very excited about this one. The ninja are timing Zane as he's been underwater, just chilling there for a very long time. This is very similar to the flashback when Sensei Wu found him in a similar state. When he gets to the surface, he's like, oh, did I do better this time? And everyone's like, you literally, crushed your record. You're inhuman. Each of the ninja reflect on the fact that they're like, oh my gosh, we've done a lot of improvements lately. There's a montage. Can you believe it? And Kai is running on hot coals, and then Jay's doing a one-handed stand in a lightning storm. I love these two because I'm like, what do you mean improvement? What does that show? But then the last one is Cole lifting weights, and in order for him to have a little bit of a challenge in terms of his super strength, he gets his super strength from having earth powers. It makes sense, I guess. But in order to really test his strength, he lifts weight with Jay and neither on either side of the dumbbell. But I can really just remember the Tumblr post very distinctly. In order for them to have even weight for him to lift, they're holding two very different objects, and so people started wondering what does that mean each of them weighs them? Because why is Neo holding a whole turkey, but then Jay's holding only this? And it's what does that mean? How does that equal each other? Anyways, it's something small, but it's one of those things about the fandom that because we're dealing with little Lego people here, we don't give a lot of details of exactly what they look like. We have to just start guessing. All the ninja discuss this does this mean we've reached our full potential? They go inside to excitedly tell Wu about everything that they've been able to do. When they get there, Wu is actually meditating, and then they all freeze and oh, we're so sorry for interrupting you. Wu is it's okay, just a lot on the mind. With Lloyd gone and his brother, it's been tough. The ninja ask him if this means now that they're finally ready. Wu tells them that while they've reached their peak physical condition, they haven't overcome what is inside that is difficult for them. And he says in order to reach your full potential, you have to handle that first. And when you do that, you will reach your true potential. And then, only then, when they all have reached their true potential, that is when they will be able to stop Pythor. Wu gives them another lore drop. He tells them, there's a story I've never told you, which is something Wu will constantly do the entire series. This is quite honestly the gatekeeper final boss. He reveals the fact that Garmadon actually wasn't always evil. You see, one time when both of them were little kids, they were fighting with katanas out in the courtyard. Wooz ended up going over the wall, and he was too scared to go over and try to retrieve it. Garmadon told him, "Don't put off till tomorrow what can be done today." And then he goes over the wall to go get it himself. When he's reaching for the katana, he gets bit by a snake that was actually the Great Devourer when it was really, really tiny. Their dad, the first Spinjitzu master, finds him and rushes him inside, but Garmadon is already sick. He's been infected with evil that comes from the Great Devourer. Garmadon blames Wu for this happening. Wu tells them that they need to do everything in their power to stop Pythor from releasing the Great Devourer. Of course, with everything going on, especially with Lloyd being taken, Wu says that he needs to go on a journey to go find some help, but he doesn't specify exactly where he's going. Pythor has all the tribes united. And if you can remember back a few episodes ago when Cole and Zane found that prophecy about the tribes uniting and therefore revealing the path to the 4 silver fang blades that are used to release the Great Devourer, Pythor is wondering, okay, now that I've done all that, when does it show up? And so he is trying to figure out with all the tribe leaders, like, what the heck does it mean now? Like, something should be obvious. The ninja are putting up missing posters for the 4 silver fang blades, which is objectively very funny. As they're doing so, Zane suddenly gets so spacey, he's like dropping flyers in front of this store shop. This guy's mad at him, but Zane literally just like not paying attention because he sees the falcon again. Everyone is like, every time we see the falcon, it leads us to great fortune. So like, we're gonna follow this thing. So the entire group follows it. One by one, they're kind of like falling off because this is such a long journey that the falcon's taking them on. They get to this big forest that's like a wintry birchwood kind of forest. There's a sign that says beware of tree horns, but we're not giving a clue of what exactly those are. Kai decides, okay, I'll just stay behind Zane, you go forward. So now Zane is by himself. As he follows the falcon further in, suddenly something seems to go very wrong and the falcon suddenly falls. When Zane approaches it, it turns out the falcon is actually a robot. He is very, very, very confused. But then suddenly a robot steps out of the woods and starts fighting him. Zane obviously is able to take him down, he's able to hit that thing, and then there's a symbol on the back of the robot that is very similar to the symbol that is on the falcon. And Zane is like, these must be made by the same person. He ends up finding a hideout with a door that has the same marking on a tree, so he goes downstairs and he's looking around. He finds the blueprints of the falcon, and as he shifts through the rest of the blueprints, he finds something that suddenly makes him stop, and he absolutely freaks out. We then cut to a scene with Wu going to this tea shop. He asks the lady for some traveler's tea, and this is one of my favorite exchanges of the entire show. The rest of the ninja finally catch up with Zane inside this hideout. He seems very distraught. Everyone's like, what is wrong? He stands up and slowly he opens up a stomach hatch that he has and reveals the fact that he is a robot. Despite this very, very shocking revelation, everyone is trying to...
Be! No!
We then cut to a scene with Wu going to this tea shop. He asks the lady for some traveler's tea, and this is one of my favorite exchanges of the entire show. The rest of the ninja...
I would like to purchase some traveler's tea. Never heard of it! You know, those who drink this never return. Then I will not bother you again.
The rest of the ninja finally catch up with Zane inside this hideout. He seems very distraught. Everyone's like, what is wrong? He stands up and slowly he opens up a stomach hatch that he has and reveals the fact that he is a robot. Despite this very, very shocking revelation, everyone is trying their best to be very chill and supportive about it. Jay points out the fact, hey, like, it's so sick because my brother's a Nindroid. And they're all like, Nindroid? Okay, like, sure. Ninja android, if you couldn't tell. That is what he said. Zane is very upset still about this information, but he's like, oh, I guess now we know why I don't understand humor, because my humor switch was flipped off, and then we have one of the best scenes. The ninja just try and reassure him. They're like, you're still one of us. You're still a brother. Zane is like, I don't know. I just really need a moment. So the rest of the ninja decide to just go upstairs and just let him have some time. Zane finds out there's a memory switch on him, and when he flips it, he gets this really, really sad flashback to his creator. His creator's name is Dr. Julian. We don't know this until a little later, but that's who he is. We see what looks like to be about a pretty substantial part of Dr. Julian's lifetime play out in front of us in this montage. We see Dr. Julian when Zane first gets up, him teaching him things about life, them bonding a lot, and towards the end, when Dr. Julian is presumably dying of old age, he tells Zane that he built him in order to protect those who could not protect themselves. And then he dies. We don't have a lot of canonical death in LEGO Ninjago, and the fact that this is so blatant is very hard-hitting. Zane, feeling sad yet inspired by those words, decides to go and run and catch up with the ninja. But when he gets out there, he sees that all the ninja are getting attacked by tree horns. They're these creatures that camouflage very well into the birch trees, so hence tree horn. Zane goes crazy on them. He goes crazy on the tree horns. This man did not come to play. He just went through a lot today, okay? He is ready to defend his brothers. And as the tree horns start to retreat, all the ninja are like, where are they going towards? Like, what are they making room for? And Zane is like, the queen. It's this giant beast that comes out, and Zane is very, very mad. And here's one of those moments where, I gotta admit, he gets very, very mad. He is like, I will not let you hurt my friends. There is nothing that will hold me back. I know who I am. He starts glowing and flying into the air. Is that just what robots do? Was he built to do that? No. Zane has reached his true potential because now he knows who he is. He freezes the queen into like a giant little block of ice, and after doing so, he falls down and he faints for a very brief second. And the ninja all rush up to him and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so cool, that was so sick. And Zane has a moment where he's like, I feel so much stronger for knowing, and he makes him feel so much better. And after he has had this moment, he's like, Pythor, we're coming for you. Eee! Okay. Back at Pythor's side of things, he has figured out that, if you put all the staffs together, all the anti-venom kind of drips out onto this piece of paper, and that reveals a map to all the fang blades. So now the snakes are on the right course, unfortunately. Then we cut to Wu, who is using the Traveler's Tea, and he makes this portal in this fire, right? And when he steps out into there, he's in this other kind of darkness kind of dimension, and we turn and we see that Garmadon is there. So basically, Nia's position in the ninja team is her just like explaining exactly what the plot needs to know. I guess she could be doing worse and more boring things, but it's just kind of like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing with her character. So anyways, the introduction to this episode, Nia is giving them like a lesson, I suppose. I guess that's what you would call it. They literally have notepads out, so I guess that like is what's going on. She's giving them a lesson. She's teaching them about the fact that like, like with the Fangpires, actually, because of their venom, and you're worrying about their anti-venom, and like, I don't want to turn into a snake. Actually, turns out, if you can just get your heartbeat racing enough, it can actually reverse the effects of the venom. Don't know how she figured this out. Don't know how she got this Fangpire skeleton either. But regardless, that's what we're working with. While she's giving this lesson, the entire time, Jay is just like fawning over her, like, blah, 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 backstory, blah, blah, blah. He's not really like, he's like listening, but like not. Anyways, like, Nia starts tripping up on like her words, and she's like, I'm sorry, is someone wearing perfume in here? And like, Jay's like, oops, like, yeah. And he's like, God, like you said, like, this would really work on her. And Nia's like, I'm actually like really allergic to perfume. Which, now hold on. I get we can get the whole, like, sibling thing, right? Like, when they mess with each other. If you have siblings, you totally get it. Kai, what do you mean you're, like, putting your sister at a health risk just because you want to, like, mess with your teammate? By make her have an allergic reaction, like, what do you mean? What the hell? I'm sorry, like, fully, like, full pausing here, like, what? It still, like, gets me today. This shit is crazy! Like, what do you mean? Okay, anyways, Jay just, like, profusely apologizes, and then Nia's like, oh, no, it's okay, it's cool, like, she's still having an allergic reaction. And then, like, Jay is thinking, like, well, to have my true potential, we kind of have to like have our heart is the key to like figure that all out. And he's like, low key, like I think that's you, and that's why he's like, asking her out. And he's just like, oh, like, you want to go out with me? And she's like, oh my god, like, tea, like, yeah. And he's like super excited or whatever. But she's like, I have to rush out before the toxins enter my brain and I like go like comatose or something. Like, oh, Kai, what do you mean it's that bad? Oh my god, man, typical man. It's even your brother. Okay, whatever. Jade does an excited little happy dance because she said yes, and then he accidentally like hits his hand against the like Fangpire skeleton's teeth, and he's like, ow, but like he's like, oh, like whatever, no biggie. But then we see that yeah, there's a little drip of the venom coming off of those skeleton teeth, so oh boy. And now we cut back to Garmadon and Wu, and they're having like a little confrontation of sorts. Also, by the way, Garmadon now has 4 arms. And so he did this by going to Dark Evil Bad Dimension in order to absorb the Dark Evil, which would then give him another set of arms. Because of course it does. Anyways, he then attacks Wu with these like big sludge kind of creature thingies, and he almost drowns him, but Wu's able to like put in the fact that, oh, your son's in trouble though, by the way. He's like dying. And then Garmadon's like, what? And he swoops in and he saves him. Jay's very excited, and he's like prepping for his date, but then he notices he has a tail because he's slowly turning into a snake right now. We then hear that the snakes are currently attacking Mega Monster Amusement Park, and now we're turning this episode into a whole double plot where they're both like low-key kind of lying to each other, because Jay is lying about the fact that he's slowly turning into a snake, but he's also like, oh, like I am kind of wanting to be here at the Mega Monster Amusement Park for the motive of like, well, like, I kind of have to split my time. I should probably be doing my ninja stuff, but I want to be on this date, and somehow I'm gonna think like I could save these people at this park while I'm also on this date. It's just not gonna work. At the same time, too, because we know that Nia is Samurai X, she also knows that the snakes are at the Mega Monster Amusement Park, so she's like, okay, yeah, like, we should both go here, but, like, they're both thinking, like, at some point we're, like, somehow gonna both be on this date at the exact same time we're also, like, defeating these snakes, and it's just, like, one of those plot lines. It's funny, but it's just, like, this is just where we're going. The date's kind of awkward. I mean, the whole point is that Jay is really trying not to act like himself. He's trying to act like very like, oh, this is what a girl would like, probably. And so he's kind of acting like that. He's also being very awkward because he's slowly turning into a snake. So he's trying to be very like nonchalant about that, but it is what's happening. Nia's also very distant because she's like, oh, like checking the fact that like Samurai X is like, yo, hello, like there's snakes here, you need to go and do this. And she also can't blow her cover to Jay, so they're both just like, they're both lying. Both of them, individually, is not acting like themselves on this date in which they're supposed to be getting to know each other. So, eventually, it turns through a whole thing where Jay is, like, literally about to turn into a snake, so he, like, quickly goes into the bathroom, and he's just kind of like, oh, la 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 la. And then Nia chooses that time to sneak off and do her Samurai X stuff, so they both kind of just, like, it's not like ghost each other, but they do both just kind of like leave the date. I mean, like Jay gets like chased out of there because he's like turning snaky and the people don't like him. As this is all going down, the ninja find the snakes are like digging in this kind of like inside like underground part of the roller coaster. Zane uses his true potential again in this moment. And I bring this up because the ninja will maybe kind of use their powers again, like the true potential that they like eventually each have. They kind of use them again, but then of course they're going to forget about the fact that they have this ability. But I'm pointing it out because he does that and it freezes them all, and it's kind of funny, but like I just think it's cute that they bring it up again. I want them to have done that more, but it's okay. The snakes find the Fang Blade, and of course the rest of the ninja are a little indisposed at the moment. So now it's Samurai X's turn, and I mean, it's Nia, so, like, she does a pretty good job about it. She gets the blade, but then she malfunctions, and then the snakes catch her, and then they tie her to the roller coaster that they also, like, totally, like, broke down. So, like, they basically are just like, yeah, we're gonna send you on this roller coaster that has, like, part of the track missing, and then you'll just plummet to your death. Which, by the way, Ninjago will decide on and off that fall damage matters, and this time, Nia falling from a roller coaster would be bad. During this time, of course, Jay escaped those people that really hated him for being a snake. He then finds Nia all tied up, and he, instead of going after the Fang Blade, he decides to go after her, because, I mean, of course he's going to. Jay tries to free her, but he's unable to. All the while, the roller coaster starts moving, and then he gets revealed as a snake, and he's like, oh, it's okay though, like, Samurai X will probably still be able to save us both. He's like, Samurai X, like, come help us! And Nia's like, ooh, bad time to mention the fact that I am Samurai X, though. And so they both have this moment where they're just kind of like, oh, we've both been lying to each other to impress each other. I mean, Nia wasn't lying to him for the sake of, like, oh, he'll like me better if he doesn't think I'm Samurai X. It's more the fact that, like, she's just not being very upfront about who she is, so she's just kind of being the her that he seems to like, you know, not the full her. And then he's also like, oh yeah, I've been hiding myself too, I've been turning into a snake, but I've also been, like, you know, me inherently as a person, I'm very, like, chalant, I am not nonchalant. And so there's kind of like, oh, like, heart to heart. Nia tells him that she likes him the way that he is, and then she kisses him on the cheek, which then cures him of being a snake because his heart rate went up. And then all the while, suddenly Jay is just, like, glowy. He just, like, stands up, he's, like, glowing, and then, oh my goodness, his true potential! And so he's able to, like, fly up and, like, stop the coaster before it would, like, you know, go over the rails. And he saves them both. He has this whole little moment where he just, like, passes out. I just think it's so funny that they do that. I just love that detail. The two of them then get down for the ride, of course, and now Samurai X's identity is revealed to all the ninja. Kai's then like, well, you know, we did all agree that whoever figured out Samurai X was going to be the Green Ninja, and, you know, I'd figured it out first, so it must be me. And then they all gaslight him and said that the competition wasn't actually about that. They have another moment where, like, oh, we're all getting stronger, and we will figure out what to do in order to stop Pythor. Then we cut back to Garmadon and Wu, who are about to start this whole journey of, like, near peril, because they need to get out of this dark, evil, bad, evil dimension, so they can go and save Lloyd in their own realm. Apparently, one of these Fang Blades is supposed to be in this dungeon-like area, so the snakes are using Lloyd in order to go through it and trigger all the traps and get to the end for them without them having to do any work. But when he gets to the end, it turns out the Fang Blade is actually gone. The big thing here is that the ninja conceptually only need one of the Fang Blades in order to stop Pythor, because, you know, they need all four of them to summon the Great Devourer. If they just had one of them, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't be a problem. Jay swoons over Nia. Nothing new here, folks. Kai, though, is super antsy about the fact that he hasn't gotten his true potential yet. He is super, super, like, freaked out about the fact that, like, Cole could maybe possibly get it before him. But he's just... Kai is not patient, and we all know this. I was gonna say we all love this, but we all know this. And so it's just, this is very, very, very important to him, and he's going to freak out. They're all looking at a picture of the Fang Blade, and Cole is like, oh my gosh, wait, I recognize the Fang Blade because it was in the Blade Cup, which, oh yeah, like, you know, my dad, like, always, like, participated in. The ninja are then immediately like, oh, look, he must have done, like... Apparently, one of these Fang Blades is supposed to be in this dungeon-like area, so the snakes are using Lloyd in order to go through it and trigger all the traps and get to the end for them without them having to do any work. But when he gets to the end, it turns out the Fang Blade is actually gone. The big thing here is that the ninja conceptually only need one of the Fang Blades in order to stop Pythor, because, you know, they need all four of them to summon the Great Devourer. If they just had one of them, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't be a problem. Jay swoons over Nia. Nothing new here, folks. Kai, though, is super antsy about the fact that he hasn't gotten his true potential yet. He is super, super, like, freaked out about the fact that, like, Cole could maybe possibly get it before him. But he's just... Kai is not patient, and we all know this. I was gonna say we all love this, but we all know this. And so it's just, this is very, very, very important to him, and he's going to freak out. They're all looking at a picture of the Fang Blade, and Cole is like, oh my gosh, wait, I recognize the Fang Blade because it was in the Blade Cup, which, oh yeah, like, you know, my dad, like, always, like, participated in. The The ninja are then immediately like, oh, look, he must have done, like, something, like, really cool and athletic, or, like, maybe he did, like, a craft, or, like, something, like, really, really cool. And Cole's like, well, no, actually, so it turns out his dad is a singer-dancer. But on top of that, Cole hasn't talked to his dad in years. And just recall the fact again, Cole hasn't talked to his dad in years, and earlier in the season, he was explicitly making fun of Jay by pretending to be on the phone with his dad. Oh, Cole will commit to the bit, but it's just so funny. Cole's like, yeah, I haven't talked to my dad in years because his dad isn't accepting of the fact that he has no talent. And also right now, that means his dad wouldn't accept him for being a ninja. However, because of the plot, the ninja need to go to find his dad and try to figure out, well, how can we get this Blade Cup of, like, actually, like, really having to do the work of earning the Blade Cup. So they go and they visit him, and here's the thing about all that. Well, first of all, I know it doesn't matter, because I think it's physically holding the weapons, but they all put their golden weapons in this, like, instrument case that Cole carries. I know it doesn't mean technically Cole is carrying all the weapons because he's not physically doing all that, but all the weapons are near each other. So it's just, I just have to know, like, what matters in terms of, like, how close these weapons can get to each other, and, like, what is explicitly, like, them touching together and that's bad. I don't know. It's not important, but I'm just, like, technically, like, Cole has, like, held all 4 weapons, but he just, like, held it in, like, this, like, case that could probably be for, like, a guitar, or, like, I don't know, maybe, like, a saxophone or something. I don't know. To say that Cole's dad is probably, like, very cringe and, like, awful to have to, you know, be I'm being mean. Oh, I'm being mean. What I mean is that, like, his dad is just so, like, persnickety. Cole knocks, and then, like, his dad's like, what, too good for the doorbell? And, like, rings the doorbell. And it's, like, just, like, him singing, which, I mean, love that for him, right? His dad's all about, like, oh, like, stories, blah, blah, blah. Like, he just cares so much about singing and dancing. And here's the thing. The ninja, like, you know, this is actually very interesting. The ninja think it's very funny that, like, his dad is, like, a singer-dancer. Because, oh, what would his dad be instead? A man of a trade? Would his dad be a ninja? Would his dad be, like, someone who's an athlete? Because, that's weird. What is wrong with singing and dancing? Surely not the fact that it's effeminate. Surely that's not why the ninja dislike this. I mean, they definitely never made fun of the color pink. I'm sorry. This is, like... It's 2012. But, like, can we give him a pass? Probably not. It's just interesting. It adds a little bit of color, I would say, especially considering this whole episode's vibe. Cole's dad immediately buys the fact that the ninja are actually, you know, Cole's classmates, and he's like, oh my gosh, you guys are here because you know I can't go on for the Blade Cup. You want me to tutor you guys in order to compete in the competition. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. That's what he assumes. And then he has the ninja sing, and Cole's dad immediately buys the fact that the ninja are actually, you know, Cole's classmates, and he's like, oh my gosh, you guys are here because you know I can't go on for the Blade Cup. You want me to tutor you guys in order to compete in the competition. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. That's what he assumes. And then he has the ninja sing, and it kills me. But, like, the ninja are so tone deaf. I mean, of course they are. They're ninja. How would they be able to sing? They're men. I'm sorry, that kind of aggressive. Also, you know, on the sidebar here, the snakes see the flyer for the Blade Cup, and then they're like, oh my gosh, like, we need to enter too, because of course, we can't go an episode without them trying to get it. The ninja are rehearsing, they suck at it. Cole's dad is, like, particularly harsh on Cole. Cole's dad, if we can notice right here, is very, very pushy about his son. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. For why? His dad brings up the fact that Cole couldn't do the triple tiger sachet, which of course is a dance move, but it's also just an incredible name. It's just, of course, bringing up the fact that his dad is very picky about him and kind of, like, very odd about the way he's treated Cole over the years with, like, his talent level. Anyways, Cole doesn't really plan on winning this whole competition anyways. He only really cares about the fact that, like, we should just get in there close enough to steal it. Because, of course, the ninja are not talented enough to actually, like, literally deserve to win it. So, I mean, Garmadon and Wu along the little journey, right? Of course, there's a whole, like, oh my gosh, this is almost perilous. But they get to the end of the, like, realm or whatever, and there's just, like, it's just, like, a silly moment, but there's, like, this big vortex, and it's like, oh, I would think we should go through it, right? But then Wu, for some reason, thinks, oh, I shouldn't. But then Garmadon, like, fake betrays him by pushing him through, and then Garmadon just jumps through, which is, like, the whole point was that they go through the portal, but Garmadon makes a show of the fact that he's, like, fake betraying him and being, like, evil, and it's a fake up betrayal, like, that just, like, immediately gets, like, undercut, but it's just, like, you know what, yeah, we can have that, it's just one of those moments, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But regardless, of course, they're now both back in the OG realm. Turns out the little snaky scheme we have here is that at the competition, Pythor has faked being one of the judges by, there's no better way to put this. He vored one of the judges and is now impersonating him with a fake beard. So anyways, and that means the snakes that have entered are gonna automatically win because Pythor will just, like, make sure they all get perfect scores. Cole is very loudly like, oh, like, we just have to steal the Blade Cup now. And of course his dad hears him, and his dad gets so mad. But, you know, in order to kind of explain this whole situation, Cole has to, gosh, what is, like, a term I could use? Comes out as a ninja. And he's like, oh, I just really want you to be proud of me for who I am. And his dad is like, I can never be proud of someone who wants to steal. And he storms off. The snakes perform, and they get a perfect score because Pythor is able to manipulate the votes. So now, the Ninjago is stuck with the fact, like, okay, we're gonna actually steal this for real, or we're gonna have to, like, actually for real win this. And so Cole decides, you know what? Let's win this as ninja. So now they're not the quartet anymore. They are the ninja. So ninja go out there. They have this epic dance, fight, battle combo with, like, the snakes. And in very epic fashion, Cole does the triple tiger sachet. Which conceptually, I really like this dance move for what he actually does for it. But it's just, okay, it's okay, yeah, oh, right. All the other judges give the ninja all 10s, and then Pythor, like, gives him a 0, and he's all, like, satisfied by it. But remember, the guy who was vored in his stomach, like, sticks his arm out and makes it so that it says, like, 10. And so the ninja win, because they get a perfect score. Cole accepts the cup, and he looks in the crowd, but he can't find his dad. So they get backstage, and his dad shows up, and he's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just so, like, I finally accept you as a ninja. But then Pythor, of course, shows up, and he drops a bunch of really heavy stuff on Cole's dad from the rafters. But Cole dives in to go and save him, and then they're both crushed to death. Pythor steals the blade. The ninja, of course, are like, oh my gosh, Cole, what is this glowing? Cole's true potential. He saves his dad, pushes it all away. And by the way, Cole is the only one to not pass out / faint directly following using his true potential for the first time. Kai, of course, is very mad that he has to be last, but now, you know, Cole gets to have a really good moment with his dad because his dad accepts him for who he is. That was what was blocking his heart. They're back at his dad's place. They're, like, reminiscing and everything, you know, like, okay, we're talking about, like, what's been gone. Cole's dad had printed off a photo of all the ninja together, and he puts it on his wall, because they're all family now, but also it means he accepts Cole for being a ninja. I hate the way this episode starts. If I hadn't experienced secondhand embarrassment from Kai in the pilot, I'm experiencing it now. While everyone else is training, and also, notably, everyone else seems way more enlightened than him because they all have gotten their true potentials. Kai, of course, is being stupid, and he is putting on the green ninja gear, and he's, like, you know, trying to pretend like he's the green ninja, and it's so corny! Wu returns, and Jay quickly recounts everything that happened. Ninja. Yeah, screw it. I'm derailing everything to talk about this episode. Let's make this perfectly clear. Cole is gay. Bi, pan, unlabeled, decide for yourself. This man is LGBT. And yes, this is interpretation for the most part. See Dragons Rising. I understand this episode isn't a perfect one-to-one allegory. I have this feeling that it'd be wrong to leave this out of the video. Generally, this episode is integral. And also, I know who I'm fighting against here, and I know how important this sort of representation is. And yeah, I've seen how the fandom responds to this. For sure, everyone is really chill about this. So, I'm very happy to include this section. Throughout this episode, we see Cole grapple with his status as a ninja. This is something that is crucial to his identity, and it has had a direct effect on how he views and interacts with his father. There is a clear disconnect between these two characters. Cole's dad has this certain expectation that Cole will grow up similar to how he himself did, and will be a performer just like he was. However, Cole deviates from this greatly. He doesn't have the natural born talents, and very obviously, he has a different vision for the kind of person he wants to be. Additionally, Cole and his dad have had a huge rift in their bond where both do not talk to each other. This has only gotten worse because now Cole has to hide a huge part of himself from his dad in order to avoid a certain reaction from him. This being unacceptance, anger, disappointment, so on. Clearly, Cole is worried his dad won't be able to understand why or how he could choose this sort of life for himself. Cole avoids this by lying to his dad about who he is. He suppresses anything about him that's ninja-like. Basically, he's upholding this sort of fake peace between the two where only his dad is allowed to feel comfortable. Because, his view on his son is just being reaffirmed. When seemingly accidentally forced to reveal who he is, Cole seems nervous but also hopeful that this revelation will go better than he expects it to. When it doesn't, he's crushed. He just wants his dad to accept him. He goes on anyways to do what he needs to do. It's tough to go through positive things in life without someone who should be supporting him otherwise, but it's something he might have to accept. Of course, his dad comes around and accepts him for being a ninja. Obviously, in the show, his dad is more concerned about the stealing aspect of Cole's plan. This, of course, seems to be interpreted one of two ways. His dad is fine with him being a ninja, of course, this goes completely unsaid, and just draws a line at stealing, or it's him placing his anger elsewhere as a scapegoat for how shocked and appalled he is that his son is a ninja. Of course, no matter what, Cole being a ninja is a genuine shock to him. His dad, of course, comes around because he gets to see that his son doesn't steal, and also his son isn't what he assumed he was. What matters the most here is the dynamic set up by the narrative. Clearly, the writers wanted to showcase the feeling of a common experience for some, where a parent doesn't approve of a choice that their child is making, even if said choice is the best for them. Cole has to hide himself, hide something super important and integral to who he is for someone who should otherwise accept him unconditionally. And he does this because he knows his dad would not view this identity in a good light. Cole's very obvious deviation from his father's expectation has huge consequences here. Queer youth often face parents who expect them to conform to society or even to the views that they themselves have on how a person should live. Oftentimes, there's pressure there to never reveal how you really identify in order to avoid terrible consequences. There's a lot of fear in coming out, and there's a lot of pain in having to pretend to be something that you're not, just to keep the peace of your parents. It makes it harder to form a close bond with your family. It can also cause distance to form, and it's easy to go no contact with them. One of the biggest things in the LGBT community is found family. When your family, your blood-related support system, refuses to show up for you, you can find people who can. Like-minded individuals who prove that acceptance is possible, your intolerant family is not the norm. No matter the exact intentions, the writers made an effort to showcase a strained family bond, one based on a child's choices not being approved of. Obviously, being a ninja is a choice, it's almost like a career choice, but it's one that Cole thinks he can lose his father over. To me, that fact is impossible to deny. This episode is important, this interpretation is important, no matter how explicit it is. Some of y'all need to understand the subtext exists. Also, not everything can be blatantly queer, especially back then. This episode, of course, is forever open to interpretation, but also that means there's nothing you can say to deny these claims, or dismiss this reading. So, keep that in mind. So, if being a ninja is an allegory for being gay, does that mean that they all are? Yeah, obviously. Do I need to take the shipping wheel out again? I hate the way this episode starts. If I hadn't experienced secondhand embarrassment from Kai in the pilot, I'm experiencing it now. While everyone else is training, and also notably, everyone else seems way more enlightened than him because they all have gotten their true potentials. Kai, of course, is being being stupid, and he is putting on the Green Ninja gear, and he's like, trying to pretend like he's the Green Ninja, and it's so corny. Wu returns, and Jay quickly recounts everything that has happened, and as Kai also shows up a little bit later because he had to take the key off. Oh. We suddenly see, like, Garmadon, like, slowly peeking up behind Wu, and he's, like, all spooky, and then all the ninja are like, oh my gosh! And they're ready to fight him, but Wu's like, nah, like, he's actually with us, and the ninja protest, like, they're mad, they're like, what the heck, like, we just fighting him, and Wu's like, no, he's our guest now, and, like, he's just here to help us get Lloyd back. So, in a weird way, we're on okay terms with Garmadon being around. Garmadon decides this whole episode that he is going to rage bait Kai whenever he can. Kai is convinced the fact that Garmadon now has 4 arms because that means he can hold all 4 weapons at once. He is also convinced that confronting Garmadon is what will help him unlock his true potential. Because isn't that what the Green Ninja would do? We didn't have a montage. Can you believe it? It's Garmadon being weird and evil. He's doing a bunch of odd stuff. He's brushing his teeth with daggers, and he eats condensed evil. I don't know what that means, but evil man eats evil. He does, like, he messes with the TV. He's sunbathing in a storm, which is very funny. I love that. I also love the fact that he uses his lightning powers at night because he's sharing a room with the ninja. Assumedly, maybe there's only like 3 rooms on the bounty because Nia has her own, Wu has his own, and then the ninja all have to be crammed into one room. So he's using his lightning powers at night to like mess with all of them. And it's just like, it's so funny because he's just rage baiting all of them. It's incredible. The ninja, of course, are like, we don't like him, but I mean, he's not so bad. There's some redeeming qualities, but Kai does not care. Kai is actively training when behind him the Falcon has spotted Lloyd and the snakes are taking him to the fire temple, but he's not paying attention to this little feed. He's just trying to train because he's convinced he needs to fight Garmadon. He then overhears the fact that Wu is trying to test the weapons on Nia because apparently if you place the weapons around the person who is going to be the Green Ninja, there will be some kind of reaction to them. Kai, of course, gets very jealous, and then Garmadon shows up and rage baits him again, and they almost fight, but then Nia comes out because they hear the commotion, and Garmadon snitches on the fact that he's spying on her, and then Nia, of course, is upset by this, and then Kai is very jealous. He's like, what happened? And Nia says that she didn't want the weapons tested on her, so of course she's not the Green Ninja, but she tells Kai that, oh my gosh, you're being so obsessive. Jay's the one who finds the feed with Lloyd being taken to the fire temple, and he reprimands Kai about the fact that he's supposed to be paying attention. So now all of them are like, okay, like, now we know, thanks Kai, now we finally know that we need to go and rescue Lloyd. Everyone is so tired of Kai and Garmadon just butting heads, but what really matters is that they're going into a volcano that is highly combustible. While they were in this room, Garmadon has disappeared along with the weapons. Kai goes and runs after him to try and find him, and he finds him in this room. He locks the room, and he's like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the battle we're supposed to have. The ninja aren't able to get in and stop Kai and Garmadon from fighting. Nia reveals the fact that Kai is convinced that if he fights Garmadon, he'll find his true potential. It's so stupid. Cole uses his true potential in order to break down the door. Kai has apparently defeated Garmadon in there, and he thinks he's having his true potential right now. He's like, am I glowing? But of course, Garmadon had allowed himself to be defeated, and also he was just getting the weapons because Wu asked him to. Oh, Wu gets so mad at Kai. He tells him that hopefully someone like him will never find his true potential, or else someone will get hurt. So they reach the temple, and it's on the verge of eruption, so that means they can't use the weapons in there, because remember, the weapons make stuff unstable. The snakes are looking for the blade. The ninja, of course, get in a fight with them. Kai uses his sword, and it makes the volcano, can you believe it, like, unstable low-key. But then on top of that, the constricti start, like, tunneling down in order to make the volcano worse. Garmadon is going after his son, trying to fight his way there. The snakes ditch the cage with Lloyd in it, and Garmadon fights in order to get Lloyd back, in which he does. Kai is chasing after Pythor. He's being very, very obsessive about getting the Fang Blade back. He pins the blade so Pythor can't get it free, and then Pythor ends up fleeing. But all the while, the volcano is slowly getting worse and worse and worse. So now that they've gotten Lloyd back, and Kai is trying to retrieve this fang blade from across the way, they all need to get out, like, basically immediately. So everyone's yelling at him, just leave, like, don't grab it. But he, of course, doesn't listen to them because he's like, I need to go and get this thing. So then everyone else is like, we have to escape now. So as they're trying to escape, of course, by some happenstance, Lloyd ends up falling, so he goes down onto this rock into the lava, and he's just floating in there in the lava. And the ninja and Garmadon are forced to leave them both. So now Lloyd and Kai are both stuck in here. Kai is struggling to get the blade out. He's still focused on this. The blade falls into the lava, but when the blade falls into the lava and he's looking down there, Kai sees Lloyd. And so here they are, no escape, but he still has a choice to make. And between the Fangman and Lloyd, he chooses Lloyd. So he hops the way over to Lloyd, and the lava is raging on around them, and everything looks bleak. The ninja are back on the ship. There's no sign of either of them, and the volcano has erupted. But as we look out into the sky and we see some fallen rock, we see that Kai has reached his true potential, and he's brought Lloyd out, and he lands on their ship. Garmadon is thanking him profusely. Everyone has to know, how did you figure out what was blocking you from your true potential? Kai then says he was never supposed to become the Green Ninja. His duty was to protect the Green Ninja. And in this shocking revelation, they place their weapons all down around Lloyd, and they float and they glow, meaning Lloyd is the Green Ninja. So that means him and Garmadon, his dad, will someday have to fight each other in a final battle. But what about the Fang Blade though? It ends up flowing down in the lava and Pythor finds it. And so now he has 3 of them. The ninja chase down this random Venomari, and they ask him where the last Fang Blade is. This guy is like, oh, you'll never find it, but then the ninja bring up the fact that, well, if the Great Devourer eats everything, won't it eat the snakes too? Which then brings up the fact that the snakes have probably never thought of this, and this is the first guy to have this revelation. Turns out the ninja are actually days behind the snakes in terms of finding the last Fang Blade. The ninja at least have all learned strats in order to combat the snake's venom. Kai has a blindfold, so he doesn't get hypnotized. Jay has armor, so he can't get bitten. Cole is able to loosen up. 0 implications in other ways. The ninja chase down this random Venomari, and they ask him where the last Fang Blade is. This guy is like, oh, you'll never find it, but then the ninja bring up the fact that, well, if the Great Devourer eats everything, won't it eat the snakes too? Which then brings up the fact that the snakes have probably never thought of this, and this is the first guy to have this revelation. Turns out the ninja are actually days behind the snakes in terms of finding the last Fang Blade. The ninja at least have all learned strats in order to combat the snake's venom. Kai has a blindfold, so he doesn't get hypnotized. Jay has armor, so he can't get bitten. Cole is able to loosen up. 0 implications in other ways. And Zane can use his falcon to see if he ever gets venom in his eyes. So the snakes are at this mountain of a million steps thing. I guess that's where the last Fang Blade is. They all go after the snakes besides Lloyd and Garmadon, who are going to stay behind on the ship to protect it. They sneak in, and turns out the ninja get caught. But while that's all going down, Lloyd finds his dad stealing files, and he's very upset. But his dad's like, oh, look, I can't help it. It's just in my blood that I'm evil. It's a dramatic moment because we're confronted by the fact that their destiny is very inevitable. They're gonna have to fight each other someday. And Lloyd tells him that he should just leave because it's very painful. But of course, Garmadon doesn't want to have to leave his son, but they have to part ways. For better or for worse. Lloyd answers a distress call from the ninja, and the ninja have gotten caught. For some reason, Zane has a fear of foods and peppers. I don't know. I don't know why they pick these things. Now that all the 4 Fang Blades are together, the snakes have decided that they're just going to celebrate and have a little party while the ninja are trapped in this cage above them that it's made of Venge Stone, which is apparently this one thing that can combat the ninja's powers. The ninja have a failed escape attempt where Kai uses hair oil on him to slip through the ventstone bars, and it's just like a really visceral moment. But they fail, and they get back in there, and of course, now they're chained up instead of being able to roam freely. All the while, Lloyd is hurrying to try and save them. He is wearing his gi, which is too big for him. It's hard to see in the Lego set, but it's too big for him, so he trips and he falls in the stairs, and the snakes laugh at him. But as that happens, since Garmadon has left prior, he actually pops back up, and now he has all the skeletons with him, and he's there to also save the ninja. A big fight goes down. The ninja are slowly saved from almost being dropped into a vat of something, and they all join the fight. Pyther runs into Cole, who is able to just pretty kind of easily get the blades from him. And then after the ninja win this whole battle, Garmadon leaves again. It's very bittersweet. And then the ninja are like, oh, now we get to celebrate. They're heading to this volcano that's called Torchfire Mountain. It's the only place that's hot enough in order to melt the fang blades and destroy them. But all the while, Pyther is invisible just outside the window. Wu meditates and he sees a vision of him and Pyther and the Great Devourer getting awakened, and it doesn't look good on his end. There's a lot going on in this episode, and the best way I can describe it if I just go kind of rapid fire here. The blades are made of the OG Great Devourer's teeth, so they're only able to break up in extreme heat. Lloyd is training, but he gets jumped by Pythor, who has secretly been on the ship the entire time. They get to the mountain volcano, and there's a tour bus down there, which of course is important for later. Sensei kind of alludes to the fact that the ninja might someday have to go on without him. The ninja don't really get this, but Wu mentions the fact that he can't see any more visions past the one he just had. Pythor sabotages the ship, and Wu almost falls to his death, but the ninja are able to create a chain and save him. Lloyd frees himself, and he's able to warn the others that Pythor is there. This is when Nia arrives, and as Pythor jumps ship, Nia is able to save the ninja before they all fall into the volcano. The snakes take over the tour bus that was down below. The Fang Pirates turn it into this snake bus. The ninja are then in pursuit. They're fighting this giant bus that has a really big snaky tail, and so Zane detaches the tail, and then all the ninja are able to board. This moment kills me. Cole activates his car inside the bus, and he shoots a missile at Scales. The whole group fights all the way up to the front car, but Wu unlocks the last car, and he says something about his destiny, and then the ninja are like, oh my gosh, what? And then they all have to wait there for Lloyd to show up with the ship. Why don't they use their weapon vehicles? I don't have answers for that. They get to the lost city of Ouroboros. Pythor puts on all the blades, but he starts getting scared as the Great Devourer is being awakened, but Wu grabs onto him and says he has to face the Great Devourer. All the ninja watch on as the Great Devourer is awakened, and it immediately goes in and eats Wu and Pythor. This, notably, is the one time the theme song doesn't play at the end credit. Instead, it is the sound of a heartbeat. So, the ninja watch as Wu gets eaten by the Great Devourer, and then immediately they have to flee and go back to the bounty. Ooh, that's not angsty though. And as they're flying out of here, the Great Devourer is able to pursue them, very easily. This thing can burrow into the ground and just kind of jump them at any moment. They make it for this place called Scattered Canyon. Ninjago just does this. They just randomly have places that they can go. They're like, we've always known this place. But I'm like, okay, well, we're here now. So they go to this place called Scattered Canyon. They're swimming around in it, but they need to throw things overboard in order to go faster. But when they throw stuff overboard, the Great Devourer is able to eat them and slowly just get bigger and bigger. So they're really just feeding this thing. Eventually, the Great Devourer just kind of shows up out of nowhere, is able to grab onto the bounty, and so they all have to abandon ship, and as they get further enough away, and the Great Devourer has it in its jaws, it just bites it in half. So after losing their sensei just moments ago, now they're watching the Great Devourer just bite their one home in half. Oh! So everyone's sad. No kidding. And they're like, well, we have to warn Ninjago City because that's where the Great Devourer is heading next. And if the Great Devourer is able to eat Ninjago City, they're never going to defeat this thing. And they're all kind of having infighting here, but they all stop because, one, Jay has a crash out, and then 2, Kai has a pep talk for them. This is very typical for the two of them. This is kind of just their dichotomy. All the snakes, after having helped release the Great Devourer, are all retreating back into their tombs again because they don't want to have to deal with this thing that they made. They get to the junkyard and they hurriedly make this giant vehicle because, they're able to intercept the Great Devourer here. They make this giant vehicle with the tornado of creation. The mailman shows up again. This poor guy. This is why he's such a meme in the fandom, but he shows up and then has to scurry off because the Great Devourer has gotten here. And what they're able to do to help try and defeat this thing is that Zane has a recording of the flute. So they're like, okay, if we use the flute on the Great Devourer now, like maybe that will have the same effect. Kai notices that there's a weak spot on the top of its head, but before he's able to say anything and like call that out to everyone, the Great Devourer has his tail come up and he smashes where Zane is at, and ooh, did he just die too? Nah, he just got a little hotter than Loki. Ah! Who said that? I said as the person that was 13 years old when this came out, by the way. And now Zane has half his face. So they're like, well, can't really use that anymore, can't really use the flute. But the Great Devourer, of course, is heading into Ninjago via the subway. They get into town, and for some reason, Jay's parents are there because they're kind of like protesting. I don't know, but Jay's able to save his parents, and now they have a big fight with the Great Devourer just kind of in the middle of this park area of the city. Off on a little side quest, since Garmadon has left, he's visiting the tea lady to get traveler's tea. I mean, this lady just gets everyone. But he sees on the news what's happening downtown Ninjago City with the Great Devourer. They have this whole fight, and Nia eventually somehow gets stuck in the Great Devourer's mouth, and it seems like all is kind of lost for her too, but actually, remember when the dragons left a long time ago because they were molting? Well, now the dragons are back, and they've all fused together, and they're able to save Nia. I mean, that's kind of sick. As they're having a little victory moment, be like, oh my gosh, the dragon's back. The dragon then gets kind of smacked down by the Great Devourer. Kind of sucks. I mean, what are we going to be able to do now to take this thing down? Because clearly nothing is working. Well, then Garmadon pulls up, and he's like, well, you guys are going to have to trust me here, because the only way we can defeat the Great Devourer is if you all give me your golden weapons. Kai is, of course, like, not really forgetting the tenseness between them, but he also lets him know that, hey, there's a weak spot on the top of its head. The ninja then enacts this plan in order to get the Great Devourer to stay still because they need Garmadon to have the best shot he can get. They are able to get the Great Devourer to follow them around and slowly just kind of tangle itself along all these buildings, and it ironically turns into kind of like a Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. So he gets trapped that way, and Garmadon gets to have a big moment because, this is a thing that turned him evil. Let's not forget that. So Garmadon's getting a little take-back moment. I mean, it's good for him. And he drops down from this building, and he hits the weak spot on the Great Devourer's head, and the Great Devourer just explodes. And so the ninja have saved the day. Well, I mean, mostly Garmadon, but they both have collectively all saved the day. And they're celebrating, but oh my gosh, off in the distance, Wu is alive! He was able to survive in the stomach acid somehow, but he still drinks his tea that was, like, in there. Oh, it's kind of gross. Turns out Garmadon, behind their backs, has run off with the weapons, which is not great, but at the very least, their sensei's back, and they defeated this big evil of the season, and so, in a way, it's a win for them, and this is how we end Season 1. There is one thing that is pretty true across all forms of media. We're talking the visual, TVs, movies, and the written, literature, comics, all the like. And if you were to say that Ninjago was a hit, well, I mean, come on now, it changed things. Ninjago was originally only slated for a 3-year long run. The story was meant to be contained within just 2 seasons. But, they're actually gonna get way more than that, because even at the end of season 1, but especially after its formal planned ending of season 2, everyone was demanding more. And this is the case that it has been for years and years and years. So there's this energy that has permeated the Ninjago sphere since its release date. This is captured pretty well in a quote from senior designer Christopher Stamp in an interview, and, he joined the team later on, but seems to still be experiencing the exact same thing. He says that, at the end of the day, everything we do is for the kids. So if the kids are saying, you've made me fall in love with these characters, you took them away, I want them back, then we are going to bring them back. That's why we are here, to make things that the kids love, and if they love it, we'll keep doing it. As long as the kids want Ninjago, we will produce Ninjago. I think the kids still really want it. And of course, the proof is in the numbers. In LEGO's 2011 annual report, they noted that as a theme, the new product line, LEGO Ninjago, sold considerably better than expected and became one of the best-selling product lines in 2011. Additionally, Ninjago as a product theme not only exceeded expectations, but it was the biggest product launch in company history. So yeah, I'm guessing the kids liked it. And I know you've heard the whole story from me, but maybe you're still wondering, why do we love Ninjago? I mean, this is a show that not only perfectly geared towards its target audience, but it also gained a very dedicated fan community. Well, I would say this is mostly expressed in the fact that the characters were flawed, and so, as senior designer Christopher Stamp puts it, the characters are flawed and individually they are not complete, but as a team, they complete each other. And honestly, I couldn't agree more. As someone who grew up with this show, I feel like it's so integral to my life, if I'm being so honest. Because nostalgia has hands, I can't lie, but seriously, Ninjago was and always will be my comfort show. And hey, you know what? As we're talking about characters here, why don't we do some analysis? The characters were clearly a very important part of the writing process. So let's dive a little deeper into the development, because the qualities present in the first season will forever influence how they are characterized as long as the show is running. So, yeah, that's pretty high stakes. For better or for worse, these little traits will be exaggerated or completely lost to time moving forward, depending on the case. And so, in my opinion, most of the ninja don't go through drastic changes throughout season 1 alone. While they do have obvious notable traits, but besides in their big moments, they have this very similar baseline of, being silly guys. So sometimes it feels like they are just lost in the noise, a very similar noise. But in this season, I'm still able to say, oh, that's such a Zane thing to do, and so on. Kai easily has the most notable arc of the season. He's cocky, arrogant, impatient. He struggles to train slowly, doesn't think before he engages. There's obviously a lot of room for growth here, and his flaw is a focus sometimes. Because, his ego is so big that he thinks he's the Green Ninja. And this is his huge realization that he has before his true potential. The positives of this, though, is that he has a high sense of self. He's committed, not super doubtful about his abilities, and he can rally the team in dire times. Every time he faces a consequence, he seems to think more about his decisions a little bit more. He also seems a lot less careless when it comes to high-stakes situations. We get to see him have to learn to become invested in the team. He chose them and is committed to being there. He's also super vigilant, better for worse. I'm full staring at Garbodon, and he has a strong sense of justice. Cole's character to me feels a little more subtle. I can see why over time his character has shifted, but that all is to say that obviously he's strong, he keeps things together, he's quick in a crisis, level-headed, and ready to think things through clearly. What we do learn through his true potential is that he seems to be struggling underneath. This is mostly seen with his dad. He is secretive, doesn't share much info with the ninja about himself or his struggles. We can probably infer that he must think that as a leader, he has to keep everything together. Can't show a sign of weakness. His positives, of course, are he's supportive, protective, and will fight very hard for their cause. There is no doubt that he's committed to this team from the very beginning. He has the best interests for everyone, and perhaps maybe at times he can be harsh, call you out, but let's call it tough love. Jay, on the other hand, is a very distinctive character because he is oftentimes the comedic relief. He is silly and goofy, but also a crash out. But he's also at the same time very smart and intelligent. Remember, he figures out spinjitzu first. And in comparison to the rest of his teammates, he is a lot meeker, definitely not stoic, and he's more likely to be freaked out by a threat. But, someone's gotta do it, He's not objectively weaker than everyone else, but he's definitely a different link in this chain. I would say he's clumsier, and oftentimes he can be the butt of a joke in the narrative. What we see of his true potential, though, is that he's nervous about being open about his feelings. May it be rejection, or he knows that the qualities he possesses aren't always desirable. He's scared to be himself. And in some of his positive traits, he is often the one who brings up solutions and things. He is the ideas guy. Additionally, he's very nice and has a sweeter side. He's awkward, but well-meaning. He's also very chatty, and if I had to meet one of them, I feel like my social anxiety would quickly leave the chat just listening to him babble. Zane is perfect, amazing. Wrong script. He is the wise one. He has no concept of being funny, and he is basically always serious for the most part throughout season 1. It's not as if he hates humor, it's just something that he's never understood, hence the humor switch. He is spiritual, which comes into play very often in the plot. It's a problem until it's beneficial, but it's also not great when he spaces out and acts very odd, but we still love him for it. With his true potential, it seems as though he is haunted by his lack of knowledge, in some places, this particularly being where he came from. And once he discovers who he actually is, he seems to be able to connect with himself and get over some of these flaws. And his positives, he does want to fit in. Of course, he has never denied at one point at all that he's committed to this team and that he cares about everyone. His progression post-memory switch is that he tries a lot harder to quip, and it's okay, you're doing your best, it doesn't always land, but he's putting a lot more effort in because previously it's very hard for him to understand the ninja, and he struggles to, but he's allowed himself some guidance there. Nia's development feels more implied than given true screen time. When she's alone, it's to serve the purpose of the ninja story rather than to give us time with her. She oftentimes is relegated to the I want to help, and she's training to do better. She is able to be Samurai X and help, but it falls a little short when she's suddenly more competent fighter than them. It's that very stereotypical feminism kind of from 2011, and I've mentioned before, not my favorite. But of course, for a while, her most obvious trait is that she wants to help out, but she wants to be a fighter. She exists in this double presence, where she wants to help, and she wants to fight, and she's able to do that, but at the exact same time, she is not allowed to join the ninja team because there's this invisible wall of, well, she doesn't have an element, she's not allowed to, and so she creates her own way of fighting, but when it's important that the ninja are given a moment instead of her, she has to be relegated to the thing that everyone should worry about and rally to save. I see this often when they give her reactions that feel a little out of character for someone who seems to be so brave and bold, perhaps. During the temple, she's screaming at a dragon, and she needs Kai to protect her in the chain scene, which sums up her character pretty well, where she tries to save herself, but can't, but of course that moment is given to Kai, who, this is important for his story. We also know that she's a smart inventor. Unconfirmed in the pilot if Nia ever did blacksmith stuff, but I would assume she had to learn something at some point. The plot just has decided we're not going to see that. Sometimes, though, I see her being almost like Jay's accessory, but it's done better than it could have been. Because the problem lies in the fact that it seems like they liked the idea of them getting together and ended up putting them together, but didn't really give the relationship legs to stand on. And it's like showing a picture of a couple and being like, don't you love them? And I look at it and I'm like, girl, I don't know who that is. If she's ever in danger, consistently this will happen. Jay, of course, is the one who's so freaked out and wants to save her. And it just adds this dissonance of, don't you think Nia would be able to save herself? No? Okay. At the end of the day, she's the smart and competent girl, more competent than the men, and she hates feminine things. So don't worry, she is different. If only all these things could be true at once. But even then, they'll still reduce her down in order to give the main ninja their own moment instead. Don't worry, the writers will work on her. It's just, we're gonna have to slog through this together. There's probably so many better ways to explain her character, and people have probably done it way better than me, but I will just leave it surface level at that. Then we have Lloyd, who is the bratty kid that needs to learn hard lessons. Yeah, he's still so young, but he's annoying. Deep down, he seems to struggle with a couple things. At first, he believes that he's destined to be this sort of evil guy, the same way that Lord Garmadon was. But then this is quickly flipped, in which now he's actually destined to be the Green Ninja, a very cool big superhero that is supposed to defeat his father. Therefore, he is actually not evil. And well, then this places so much responsibility on him. He tries to contribute more and maybe kind of start to mature a little bit more, but that's Season 2's problem. The best that Lloyd can do in Season 1 is that he goes from sabotaging them to not. Because a lot of weight is placed on his shoulders, so he has a lot of things to get through and really mull over in the future. Sensei Wu is a very interesting character. I want to say he hits his strides later on, but when we're talking Season 1, he obviously has a lot going on. He has a ton of history. He is directly tied to not only one of the main villains, Lord Garmadon, but also the Green Ninja who is supposed to defeat Lord Garmadon, in which he is the brother and the uncle, respectively. So, don't blame him for being a little stressed out. For the most part, he's played off as the wise one. But what we do see of his characters is that he often can be wrong, though. So, maybe being so old-fashioned will make him realize that he needs to improve. We do see him seem to lighten up around the ninja. He is excited about a Ferris wheel and Snake King, and he's dancing in the pilot. So we can kind of pretend that that's the influence from the silly ninja. Perhaps maybe he doesn't even know his full value or how crucial he is to the team. Or maybe he doesn't even realize how far the ninja are willing to go for him because of what we see with the Great Devourer. So puts us in a very interesting position for Season 2. And last, we have Garmadon. If I'm being completely honest, I love him. I think he gets even better next season, but he still is equally as complex now. We see him as a typical Dark Lord, but we see a very major weak spot with him for his son. So the audience is obviously clued into the fact that he's not just some typical, perfectly evil baddie. Because he seems to want to make correct decisions, but perhaps he literally can't. And what we learn about him being pretty much forced into this evil position because of the Great Devourer makes you wonder how willing he's been all this time to be evil. Of course, he does genuinely want to do some evil stuff from sometimes, don't get me wrong, but there's moments where you're wondering, deep down, how far does this actually go? It's almost kind of like he's an errand boy for the darkness inside of him. We'll see how he turns out in Season 2. In all honesty, all these characters probably could have their own entire video analyzing their character. Maybe that's an idea for another time? Maybe not. Who's to say? So yes, we do have the Ninjago mini-movies. They're not required reading, they're just some funny shorts to fill in the gaps between the pilot and the actual season run, hence why I didn't bring them up till now, until this bonus section. But if you're interested, let me give you a rundown so you can have the full context of everything at this point. We have Secrets of the Blacksmith. Jay takes Nia to pick up some things from the Four Weapons shop. Now that they're going to be living with the ninja, she needs to get a few things. While grabbing from a secret stash of weapons, Nia has to fight off all the skeletons, and she defeats them while Jay is clueless because he's out there trying to figure out how he'll ask her out. Flight of the Dragon Ninja. All the ninja want to go on a dragon race to see who is the new dragon master for the next month. Jay was it last month.
Look at me!
Impressive, Cracker.
Cole wins, and they all act as if this agreement never happened and that they'll still be able to race tomorrow. The new masters of Spinjitzu. These two skeletons that are from the pilot, now trapped in the Ferris wheel, decide that they're going to take their revenge by going after the ninja and stealing their golden weapons. Somehow, when they get the weapons, they can do Spinjitzu? Girl, I don't know. And they accidentally trigger the training course. The majority of the plot is them just constantly, accidentally beating themselves up before they decide to leave when Kai comes out and turns off the training course and states it malfunctioned before, which is a funny thing to bring up in a little mini-movie. They return the weapons and decide that they're not going to do that again. Battle between brothers. Zane asks about Wu's drip. The symbols are actually a protection spell, but it also reminds him of the night Garbodon was cast to the underworld. Way back when, Garbodon goes to steal the golden weapons, even though both him and Wu had promised that the weapons would not leave the monastery. They fight, and a portal is open as Garbodon goes to strike Wu, but Garbodon gets struck instead and is turned fully evil. Balance is restored because of this as Garbodon falls into the underworld, and they claim that there's been many years of peace that has followed. They also then joke about Jay being around to cause trouble means that those days are over. An underworldly takeover. Cole asks Wu about how did Garbodon ever take over the skeleton army? Well, once Garbodon fell into the underworld, the skeletons didn't like him. Samukai taunts him, and they fight. Garbodon wins, and now he has control of the army. Wu then says, I bet they agreed over a cup of tea. Return to the Fire Temple. Kai and Nia return to the Fire Temple. No kidding. It is because of Flame, Kai's dragon, who wanted to take them there to show them something, it seems. When they get there, Kai finds that there's a secret entrance to the underworld where the skeletons are. Kai fights them, he does semi-bad, and Nia and Flame block the entrance. So now that is covered and no longer a problem. Thank you, Nia. It's also very funny to me because she calls him stupid. Feels very out of theme for Ninjago, somehow. Hey, so got to the end of editing, realized I did not record an outro. I don't have much to say. To be honest, I didn't really expect anyone to watch this, so the fact that you got this far, thank you so much. I'm actually, so flattered. YouTube and recording something like this really just felt more of a for fun kind of project. I love Ninjago, if you couldn't tell. And I only decided to even do anything YouTube-like just for the love of the game. Honestly, just for funsies. For me personally, YouTube isn't a career path, it's just something that I want to do for fun. I love video essay commentary videos, and I was like, well, you know what? I could talk a lot about Ninjago, and actually quite a few things, so hopefully I can get another video out at some point. Don't ask me when. This one already took me so much labor to get through. Loved it, but as an introductory back to trying to edit, and I'm like, let me make a 3-hour long video almost. A little much. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!